Chapter 760. However, at the same time, all of Mu Ran's escape routes were blocked by the 8 Battle Masters. Mu Ran could dodge this attack by force. But how was she going to dodge the other 8 attacks? These 10 people set up an inescapable net by sacrificing a Battle Master. Tonight, the fall of a young Heaven's Law Doja, and her Heaven's Law Doja would become someone else's tool. At this moment, Mu Ran also felt a bone-chilling coldness. I fell into their trap. I shouldn't have exploded my chi just now. But now, I'm actually in such a passive position. What should I do? I can only resist. I have no other ideas. Just when Mu Ran was planning to risk her life, a huge figure appeared in front of her. That tall and straight figure blocked the moonlight. Mu Ran slightly raised her head and looked at the black figure. It was Tsang Kong Hong, who was wearing an iron mask. This beautiful scene suddenly appeared. Mu Ran's gaze carried a sense of loss as he looked at Tsang Hong. Tsang Hong's enormous body was like a large mountain that covered Mu Ran's front, appearing to be the toughest shield. In the air, 9 Dosher's hands were holding blades as they hacked at Mu Ran. The silver-colored blade glows were filled with terrifying Do Chi. Tang Wei, who was sitting in the carriage, saw this scene. Because she was hesitating to act just now, she felt relieved when she saw Tsang Kong Hong. Originally, she was worried that they wouldn't be able to cross paths, but now, it seems like they are destined to be together. Tsang Kong Hong's current mood was very complicated. If I can poke them to death with just a finger. But Wei Chong said that I am currently in the realm of a battle master. If I poke them to death with just a finger, wouldn't I be exposed? This is his honors plan. I can't expose it. This little thing is too weak, so I can only. Tsang Kong Hong had no choice but to pull Mu Ran, who was in a daze, over to him. His enormous body enveloped Mu Ran under his chest. Boom! All 9 blades landed on Tsang Kong Hong's back. In order to achieve the effect of a battle master, Tsang Kong Hong lowered his own defense to the lowest level. If not, they wouldn't even be able to cut his skin. Immediately, a wave of Do Chi swept out and spread out. The petite Mu Ran seemed to be able to feel the violent impact, and could even hear the sound of flesh being cut open. Mu Ran also knew that this wasn't the time to be touched. Her petite body immediately moved away from Tsang Kong Hong and brandished the green long sword in her hand crazily. The 2 dumbfounded Dosher were instantly killed. Why were they dumbfounded? Because they just witnessed an inconceivable scene. When the blade chopped the man's back, sparks actually appeared. Although it was only for a moment, it was still shocking. What was this person's skin made of? Under the full force attack of a Dosher, sparks had actually appeared. Although his skin and flesh were still cut open in the end, the sparks were definitely not an illusion. Retreat. The leading Dosher gave the order without hesitation. His intuition told him that this man was very terrifying, and the assassination attempt tonight could not continue. The remaining 7 Doshers immediately disappeared into the dark night sky. Tsang Kong Hong also let out a breath of relief. According to the extent of my injuries, I shouldn't be able to stand up, so Blue Sky Red collapsed. Tang Wei also heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, if those people didn't leave, it would be a troublesome matter. I reckon that Uncle Wei will have to send some kind-hearted black-clothed men away. A series of footsteps came from afar, and the defense army finally appeared. Saintus, please forgive us. The leader shouted out while trembling with fear. Mu Ran knitted her brows and raised her hand. With her petite body, Mu Ran actually carried Blue Sky Red on her back. Blue Sky Red's back that was dripping with blood was a ghastly sight. After placing the unconscious Blue Sky Red on the horse, Mu Ran drove the carriage and quickly returned home. Ranner, are you all right? Muangwa, who was in the carriage, asked. I'm fine, Mu Ran said gravely and looked at the reckless Blue Sky Red beside her. It's good that you're fine. Muangwa let out a breath of relief. As long as my daughter is fine, I don't care about a coachman like Blue Sky Red. If she really died, I will definitely give her some money. However, to Mu Ran, Blue Sky Red was her savior. If it wasn't for Blue Sky Red stopping her just now, it would probably be impossible for me to be sitting here and talking. After arriving at the Mu residence, Mu Ran directly jumped off the carriage and carried Blue Sky Red's huge body and ran into the Mu residence, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. Tang Wei immediately followed after Blue Sky Red, and a smile appeared on her face. I hope that this is a new beginning. Right now, Blue Sky Red, who was pretending to be dead, was also a bit annoyed. This little guy is actually carrying me and running. This is making me feel very uncomfortable. The mission that his honor gave me is too difficult. Mu Ran arrived at her own bedroom and directly placed Blue Sky Red on her bed. Mu Ran didn't show any disdain towards Blue Sky Red at all. Tang Wei, quickly bring over my medicine chest. Mu Ran hurriedly shouted. Tang Wei cooperated with Mu Ran and asked worriedly, Miss, is my cousin all right? I don't know. Mu Ran looked at Blue Sky Red's badly mutilated back and was a bit puzzled. Under the full strength of 9-do sure. Is it only badly mutilated? Tang Wei saw through Mu Ran's puzzled expression and said, Miss, this cousin of mine has a tough body since young. He shouldn't die, right? Don't worry, I will do my best. Mu Ran hurriedly smeared medicine on Blue Sky Red's back and took out an exquisite bottle. Within the bottle, there was a pill. This pill was the life-saving pill that her master gave her. Mu Ran seemed to want to take off Blue Sky Red's mask, while Tang Wei shouted, Mississippi, I will feed him the medicine. Mu Ran said in a low voice, then took off Blue Sky Red's iron mask. And when Tang Wei saw that Blue Sky Red's fists were tightly clenched, she feared that Blue Sky Red would smash Mu Ran's head with a single punch. Speaking of which, Blue Sky Red was thinking this way in her heart. This woman actually dared to take off my iron mask without my permission. I really want to strangle her neck. And when Mu Ran saw Blue Sky Red's face, she went into a slight daze for a moment, then fed the pill that was in her hand into Blue Sky Red's mouth. Tang Wei, who was at the side, closely observed Mu Ran's expression. She discovered that Mu Ran was only slightly surprised for a moment. Then her expression became normal, and Mu Ran's gaze was filled with concern. Rest assured, seems like this Mu Ran isn't someone who only cares about looks. Mu Ran immediately inspected Blue Sky Red's body and discovered that Blue Sky Red's breathing is very smooth. Is the effect of the medicine that good? It feels like it is just a normal flesh wound. There's no choice. Blue Sky Red can only act like this. Am I going to be chopped into pieces? It should be fine. Your cousin's body is very tough. He can block the attack of 9-do sure. Mu Ran said softly. Tang Wei felt that Mu Ran was a little suspicious. This is not a good thing. Miss, my cousin was born like this. This isn't an illness, right? Tang Wei's acting skills are still up to standard. If she let Wei Chong cooperate now, it is possible that she will be exposed. Chapter 761. Tang Wei was delighted. That would be my cousin's fortune. Right now, Song Kong Hong didn't even know what she should say anymore. Just how long is he going to protect me? Mu Ran did not say anything. She sat by the bed and observed Cerulean Red's condition. After a long time, she found that her condition had stabilized. Tang Wei, go back and rest first. Mu Ran said softly. Miss, let me go with you. It's fine. I'll just watch over here. Mu Ran felt that the other party was doing this to save her, so it was normal for him to take care of her. Of course, Tang Wei wouldn't be a third wheel. And miss, you should rest early too. Mu Ran nodded. Tang Wei walked out of the room and gently closed the door. If Firmament Hong was as good at flirting as Lai Gu, this Mu Ran would definitely not be able to escape from him. It was a pity that Song Kong Hong did not know how to speak at all. He was the kind of person who did not know how to flirt and could even kill a conversation. He didn't know if Mu Ran would like Sky Red. In the room, Mu Ran sat by the bed and observed for time. This wasn't love. It was a kind of gratitude. Although it was not to the extent of liking him, Mu Ran at least had a good impression of Blue Sky Hong. From a stranger to her savior, this was already a huge leap. Song Kong Hong didn't want to lie down. She didn't even want a little girl to take care of her. She felt embarrassed. However, he had no choice but to do so, and this little girl would observe him from time to time, making him even more depressed. At this moment, Mu Ran was thinking about who had sent these people. To be able to call out 10 spirit masters, they were definitely not ordinary people. The fourth prince? I don't seem to have any conflicts with him. Your Majesty? He had just walked out of the palace gates when he was attacked. This was a little illogical. Furthermore, he was going to Voidless Empire, and it was uncertain whether he would be able to return alive. His Majesty's actions were completely unnecessary. Perhaps it was because he was a heavenly law doge, and assassins from the other two countries were more likely. It seemed like he had to conceal his identity as a heavenly law doge from the very beginning. He did not expect that it would not only attract the suspicion of His Majesty, but also attract the suspicion of others. If a Grand Doge came tonight, something bad would happen. Fortunately, it's all thanks to him. Muran took a look at Song Kong Hong, who was on the bed, then lightly leaned onto the side of the bed and closed her beautiful eyes. My heart is tired. Song Kong Hong, who was lying on the bed, did not dare to move at all, as if she was afraid that she would be discovered. The next morning, Muran abruptly opened her beautiful eyes and discovered that it was already morning. She then looked at Sky Hong, who was lying on the bed, and observed her. Sky Hong was recovering very well. With a sigh of relief, Muran stood up and prepared to wash her face. A sound came from the bed. Muran turned around and saw Song Kong Hong sitting up and putting on the iron mask again. You can't get out of bed yet. You need to rest. Muran hurriedly walked over to persuade him. Song Kong Hong had had enough last night. She really didn't sleep the whole night and was very careful. Shaking her head, Song Kong Hong ignored Muran's advice and walked out of the room. Muran lightly sighed. Tang Wei's cousin's personality was indeed very eccentric, but his recovery ability was too strong. Or could it be that the medicinal pellet given by teacher was more powerful? Miss, at this time, Tang Wei came over with water and asked curiously, your cousin seems to be almost recovered. Muran still chose to believe in the power of the pill. That's great. I thank you on behalf of my cousin. No need. It was your cousin who saved me. I should be the one thanking you. Muran said with a smile. After washing her face, Muran said indifferently, Tang Wei, help me pack up my baggage. Miss, are you going now? Tang Wei hurriedly asked. Tang Wei, you and your husband should live a good life here. Muran planned to go alone. After all, this time, it was normal for her to die. Of course, Tang Wei wouldn't stay here. Miss, I'll go with you. Tang Wei, there's no need. It's very dangerous for me to go this time. Miss, I'm not afraid of danger. Muran chuckled. Tang Wei, there's really no need. Miss, if you go alone, what will happen if there's no one to take care of you? Furthermore, I'm very familiar with that place. Furthermore, my cousin called us back. I also want to go and take a look. This is also on the way. Tang Wei forcefully explained. Muran pondered for a moment before saying, after entering the city, don't follow me. It's very dangerous. Tang Wei happily agreed. Then go and prepare. We'll leave immediately. All right. Very few people knew that Muran was going to Voidless Empire. In fact, only Muangwa went out to send her off. Her mother and little brother didn't know. Even when Muran, the holy maiden, left the city gates, no one came to send her off. As for the assassin from last night, there was no follow-up explanation either. Muran was a little disappointed. However, what she cared about was the commoners. Everything else could be ignored. In the back garden of the palace, King Feng Yongzhang was currently admiring flowers with Ding Wenba following behind him. A young eunuch stood respectfully beside Feng Yongzhang and whispered a few words. Your Majesty, I presume that the holy maiden has already left the city. Ding Wenba said respectfully. Feng Yongzhang held onto a pair of scissors and slowly trimmed the flowers. Who sent the assassin yesterday? It has been confirmed. It's Xuanzhong Kingdom. That old fart. He even wanted to assassinate my holy maiden and frame me. He deserves death. Feng Yongzhang ruthlessly threw the pair of scissors onto the ground. The palace maids in the surroundings all knelt down. If Muran had died in Gouda Principality yesterday, Tianliang sect definitely wouldn't let the matter rest. They might even vent their anger on Gouda Principality, and the consequences would be rather severe. Your Majesty, please quell your anger. Fortunately, the holy maiden is fine, Ding Wenbo said softly. His words were naturally meant for the palace maids and the surroundings to hear. The heavens bless the holy maiden's triumphant return. If the holy maiden doesn't return after a long time, I will destroy this Wushu empire. How could Feng Yongzhang not know this? He only hoped that the holy maiden would remain in Wushu empire forever. At that time, he wouldn't even need to make a move, as Tianliang's sect would destroy Wushu empire. Long live your majesty, Ding Wenbo shouted loudly. The palace maids and the surroundings also shouted in unison. Being in such a position, everyone had to wear a mask and act. On the other side, Wei Chong and Song Konghong sat outside the carriage, while Mu Ran and Tang Wei sat inside. The four of them headed towards Wushu Empire. According to the speed of the carriage, they might need half a month's time to reach Wushu Empire. Wei Chong also intentionally slowed down the speed of the carriage. As for why, it was naturally to create an opportunity. But looking at Song Konghong's current state, he doesn't even know how to create an opportunity. He is simply a blockhead. No wonder Yu Hua doesn't like you. Which woman would like you? Chapter 762. Wasn't Tang Wei captured by me when I was chasing after her? If you want to chase after a girl, then you must be thick-skinned. If your skin is thin, then you should be single for life. It is impossible for you to wait for a girl to chase after you. Is your injury better? Mu Ran suddenly lifted the curtain and asked with concern. Song Konghong remained silent and nodded his head. He seemed to be very aloof. This wasn't because Song Kong was wearing red clothes. It was because of her personality that Yu Hua didn't like her. After all, every woman wanted to be cared for. Lai Gu expressed his concern, while Song Konghong only kept his concern in his heart and never expressed it out. Mu Ran didn't ask any more questions and returned to the carriage. Wei Chong shouted, "Idiot! This Mu Ran looks pretty good. Although her strength is not that high, she is definitely a good girl. She is definitely a good match for a fool like you." Tang Wei, who was sitting in the carriage, was also crying out at how stupid Yu Hua was. When a girl takes the initiative to show concern for you, you should at least show some gratitude. No wonder Yu Hua doesn't like you. You deserve it. Mu Ran didn't show any signs of disappointment. She just sat there quietly, thinking about the problem. Seeing that Mu Ran did not have any disappointed reaction, Tang Wei was a little anxious. It seemed that Mu Ran only treated Sky Red as her savior and did not have any other thoughts. Sigh. He felt that it was hopeless. The carriage slowly drove on the road, and Wei Chong reported the situation here to his honor. When Yi Hua heard Wei Chang's report, he was very happy and praised Wei Chong. A war is definitely going to start soon, and it is time for Wushu Empire to shock Northern Liang Empire. This was just a small step for the main body. The path of revenge had just begun. Meanwhile, Yi Hua also inquired about Blue Sky Red situation to see if there was any progress. When he heard Wei Chong say that Song Konghong was injured in order to save Mu Ran last night, this caused Yi Hua to feel a little gratified. At least, this Song Hong isn't a fool. However, in the next moment, Yi Hua dispelled the thought that he had just had. Yi Hua felt that it was normal for Yu Hua to not like Song Konghong. With a personality like Song Konghong's, it would be impossible for him to obtain a girl's favor. However, Yu was a bit looking forward to meeting that Mu Ran soon. I want to see just how capable this Mu Ran is to be able to be hyped up by Wei Chang's words. On the first night, the carriage stopped by the river. Song Konghong caught a fish, and Wei Chong started a fire to roast it. The four of them acted as if they were on vacation, and Tang Wei acted as if she was taking care of her little sister, causing Mu Ran to feel very grateful towards Tang Wei. She felt that Tang Wei was like her big sister and had a very good impression of her. However, if Mu Ran found out that the three of them were actually liars, who knew what she would do? In fact, all of the scams revolved around Mu Ran. The intelligent Mu Ran actually did not realize it. Perhaps it was because Tang Wei was too meticulous, causing Mu Ran to lower her guard. Of course, there was also Blue Sky Hong who risked her life to save Mu Ran. Being deceived by the enemy could only be said to be a lesson, but being deceived by someone he trusted was a blow. Actually, it was a good thing that Song Kong Hong did not have any interaction with Mu Ran. Once he did, Mu Ran would discover that everything was fake, and that would be even worse. After eating the grilled fish, Wei Chong and Song Kong Hong stood guard outside. Right now, Mu Ran was an important target of protection, and nothing could happen to her. Mu Ran and Tang Wei are resting in the carriage. Tang Wei, let your cousin come into the carriage to rest. The wind outside is very strong, and with his injuries, he cannot suffer from the cold. Mu Ran said concernedly. What a considerate girl. Tang Wei had an idea and said lightly, Miss, don't look at that cousin of mine. Just because he is a wooden person, in actuality, he cares a lot about his face. If I go and talk to him, it won't be effective. I will go and talk to him then. As expected, Mu Ran fell into Tang Wei's trap. Looking at Mu Ran getting off the carriage, Tang Wei didn't know if what she did was right or wrong. I wouldn't have harmed Mu Ran, right? Thinking about it, if Mu Ran really liked Song Kong Hong, with Song Kong Hong's personality, he might not accept her, and Mu Ran would be sad. In the future, it's better not to try and pull strings and let nature take its course. Let's see if they are fated to be together or not, and I can't force it. Song Kong Hong was sitting cross-legged on a big rock at the side and seemed to be cultivating. Hearing the slight footsteps beside him, Song Kong Hong opened his eyes. Mu Ran looked at Song Kong Hong's enormous body and thought back to last night. This body enveloped me, and at that time, it seemed to be very safe. Song Kong Hong, the wind here is strong. You should go and rest in the carriage. Cold wind would howl during the night in northern Liang, and it was indeed rather cold. Furthermore, this was a plain, and the wind was even stronger. After hearing Mu Ran's words, Song Kong Hong shook his head and continued to close his eyes, seemingly not willing to pay attention to Mu Ran. Mu Ran felt that Song Kong Hong's behavior was normal. Thus, Mu Ran didn't leave and sat on the other side of the big rock. Actually, when I was young, I didn't like to talk either. Mu Ran said in a low voice while slightly looking at the starry sky. Song Kong Hong heard Mu Ran's words, but he still remained silent. He even recalled that a long time ago, Yu Hua had also been like this, speaking her mind to me. Since you don't like me, why are you speaking your mind? Could it be that I, Song Kong Hong, am just a listener? I am not willing to be a listener. Mu Ran didn't know what Song Kong Hong was thinking in his heart, and he didn't feel any abnormalities. Mu Ran seemed to be consoling Song Kong Hong, telling him to have confidence and not to lock himself up. Some children don't like to play with me, and even my brother doesn't like to play with me. He said that I am a boring person. Mu Ran laughed bitterly. My childhood is truly not that good. As I slowly grew up, there were indeed people who played with me. However, I know that they did it with an ulterior motive. As Mu Ran spoke, the tone of his words seemed to have changed. Originally, he wanted to enlighten Song Kong Hong, but now he was telling Song Kong Hong about his own matters. This kind of mutual deception is actually very tiring for me. Even when I was in Tianliang's sect, I didn't experience something like this. Because of a heaven's will, it seems that everyone's opinion of me has changed. If I had known that it would be like this, I wouldn't have gone to snatch that heaven's will. Mu Ran paused for a moment. Why am I talking about myself? Didn't I want to enlighten him? I still haven't thanked you. Thank you for saving me last night. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be sitting here and talking to you right now. Thank you. You were really a good listener. Mu Ran's last sentence made Song Kong Hong think of Yu Hua. I remember that Yu Hua had also said this sentence before. Song Kong Hong immediately jumped down from the big rock, then leaned against the bonfire and lay down. His meaning was very clear. I don't want to listen to you, and I don't want to be a listener. Mu Ran didn't know why Song Kong Hong suddenly got angry. Could it be that he said something wrong just now? But it doesn't feel like he said anything wrong. Looking at Song Kong Hong, Mu Ran pursed his lips and walked into the carriage. Tang Wei also heard what Mu Ran said just now. She cursed Song Kong Hong in her heart. You have already lived for over 10,000 years. Why are you still so childish? It's not like Mu Ran intentionally brought up your sad matters. Chapter 763. After returning to the carriage, Mu Ran was very calm. She leaned against the side and rested, not saying anything. Perhaps Song Kong Hong still hasn't walked out of the shadow of the past few years. Most probably, he still has feelings for Yuhua. After all, it is a relationship of over 10,000 years. How can it be broken just like that? But no matter what, Yuhua is already someone's wife, and she is Lai Gu's wife. In the next few days, Wei Chong seemed to have increased his speed. This Song Kong Hong is really depressing. I originally wanted to stay on the road for a few more days, but this fellow is completely indifferent. What's the point of staying on the road? Song Kong Hong, who didn't know the truth, felt that this speed was fine. The further north they went, the colder the weather became. Snow also gradually appeared in the sky, and very quickly, a vast expanse of whiteness appeared in front of them. In Kangluo continent, no matter how cold the south is, there is no snow. But in the north, there is snow for half a year, especially in the location of Wushu Empire. However, the endless snow scenery was not bad. Occasionally, pedestrians would appear on the road, and they were all honest villagers. When they saw such a luxurious carriage, they would first be shocked and then kneel on the snow. When the carriage disappeared, only then did they stand up. However, their pants were already wet from the snow. This was how it was in Kangluo continent. After more than 10 days of bumpy travel, they were about to reach Wushu Empire. Mu Ran pulled open the curtain of the carriage and observed the expressions of the pedestrians. She discovered that the pedestrians were all smiling and chatting happily. If this Wushu Empire is a ghost city, how can there be so many people here, and all of them are very happy? Seems like this Wushu Empire should be a good country. I am looking forward to meeting the king. Suddenly, a clamor came into the carriage from outside. What's wrong? Mu Ran asked curiously. Miss, come down and you will know. Wei Chong smiled. Looking at Wushu Empire from this angle is very refreshing. Its grandeur is even greater than those countries in heavenly God realm. Mu Ran walked out of the carriage with doubt. When she saw the scenery in front of her, she couldn't help but open her small mouth, appearing very shocked. Mu Ran felt that she had seen the huge Tianliang sect before, but she was still shocked by the scene in front of her. The surroundings were indeed snowing, but in the sky above Wushu Empire, the sky seemed to have opened its eyes. The golden sunlight shone on Wushu Empire, making people feel its majesty and grandeur. Compared to the Gouda Duchy, this place was simply too magnificent. The Gouda Duchy was like a run-down little city. Mu Ran was only looking at the sky. That majestic city wall was so dazzling that he couldn't even see the end of it. There were city towers every 300 meters. Because he was standing quite far away, Mu Ran wasn't able to see how tall the city wall was. But from this height, he seemed to be able to see the Wushu Empire's royal palace. Among all the buildings, only the imperial palace was the tallest. The majestic building showed its prestige. The entire imperial palace gave off a strong sense of oppression, as if it was warning everyone. Those who obey me will prosper. Those who oppose me shall perish. Miss, we still have to hurry. We have to enter the city before nightfall. Wei Chong said. Mu Ran returned to the carriage with astonishment. However, she was still looking at voidless empire outside the carriage. Suddenly, he had a thought. Even if he brought his troops here, would he have any chance of winning? This was not the Lingtai country of the past. This was a brand new country, Wushu Empire. However, at this moment, Mu Ran was starting to worry about this voidless empire. Would it attack other countries? From the looks of it, they are very powerful. The city seemed to be right in front of them, but in actuality, the city was still very far away. After about 2 hours passed, the city walls of Voidless Empire could finally be seen. Right now, Mu Ran had already gotten off the carriage, and the astonishment on her face had yet to dissipate. Just now, when she was looking at the city walls from afar, they seemed to be normal. However, only when she got closer to the city walls did she discover the city walls were actually 300 meters tall, and the city walls felt as if they were going to rush into the clouds. Furthermore, when she looked to the right side, she couldn't even see the end of the city walls. Just how big is this voidless empire? Mu Ran even felt that the materials used to build the city walls were not ordinary. Furthermore, the city walls were faintly emitting out the smell of an imprint. Just that, the imprint was temporarily suppressed. If the imprint were to explode out, the imprint would be able to cause a lot of damage. If one were to encounter an invader and recklessly attack without understanding the situation, one would definitely suffer a huge loss. The Golden City gates, that were 100 meters tall, caused Mu Ran to be dumbfounded. Just how rich is this voidless empire? This is too extravagant, isn't it? Even the city gates are made out of gold. There were also the words voidless empire, which gave off a strong feeling of might. Everyone could only look up to it, and red flags were hung on both sides of the city gates. Looking at the hearts on the flags, Mu Ran laughed lightly. Seems like the king here is a good person. This place has changed so much. Tang Wei, who was at the side, shouted out exaggeratedly. That's right. Wei Chong also began cooperating with Tang Wei. Mu Ran observed for a while and felt that there weren't a lot of people entering the city. This place is so good. Why are there so few people entering the city? Suddenly, an old granny who was passing by stopped her footsteps and said to Mu Ran with a smile, "Little girl, you still don't know about this, right? It hasn't been long since Voidless Empire appeared, and we just received the news about it. Furthermore, Voidless Empire has 3 city gates, and this is the side gate." Side gate? Mu Ran cried out in astonishment. The old granny nodded her head. "The main gate is on our right side, and we will be there in about an hour." Mu Ran, to be able to reach the main gate in about an hour, there should be another side gate at the side. Just how long is this city wall? It is indeed very long. For this reason, Yihua opened up 3 gates to welcome the residents. This city wall is too big, right? Mu Ran said in astonishment. "Little girl, Voidless Empire gives us a lot of benefits. We just have to pay a bit of money every month, and when we get old, we will get a pension and a lot of benefits." The old granny laughed a few times, then walked into the bright, voidless empire. This was the first time Mu Ran heard of such a thing. Pay a bit of money, and when we get old, we will be able to get a pension. This is very novel. The 4 walked to the bottom of the city wall, and Mu Ran sized up the guards on both sides of the city wall. Whether a country's military strength was strong or not, one could look at the guards. However, these 2 rows of white armored warriors gave Mu Ran a very strong feeling. That tall and straight figure of the white armored warriors was not moving at all. That pair of tiger eyes were staring straight ahead, and even all of the white armored warriors were breathing at the same time. However, no matter what, from these white armored warriors, it could be seen that this voidless empire is very powerful. It has even surpassed Gouda Principality. Without any obstructions, the 4 walked into the city. However, they were still obstructed at the entrance. It wasn't really obstructed, it was just that they had to fill in some documents. Today, Brett was here to take over the shift, and he could already see Wei Chong and the others from far away, and he even saw Mu Ran. In the recent month, Mu Ran's name was very popular in the group, and everyone wanted to see just what kind of girl Mu Ran was. Chapter 764. Mu Ran also looked at Brett and realized that this woman was so beautiful and tall. It was a pity that her body was a bit petite. She really envied these girls with good figures. "Miss, what is the meaning of this?" Mu Ran looked at the information on the table. Brett was also bored at home, so he replaced Guan Yinxin today. This is the information that every person who enters the city has to fill in. This information will be added to the spirit tablet, and it will be used as a symbol of one's identity. Staying in an inn, doing business, renting a place to stay, giving birth to a child, all of these will depend on this spirit tablet to become a legal citizen of Voidless Empire. Hearing Brett's explanation, Mu Ran's eyes lit up. How did they think of such a method? Why meet the king later? I must learn some knowledge and apply it to my own country. Thank you. I got it. Mu Ran said softly and began to write down the information. Wei Chong and the others also pretended to write something. Mu Ran took the new spirit tablet and said to Tang Wei, who was beside her, "This is really a magical place. Tang Wei, you can live here peacefully in the future. Miss, don't you like this place? Tang Wei asked curiously. Mu Ran looked at the street in front of her. It was clean, and there were trees planted on both sides. Under the contrast of the green leaves, the whole city revealed a new kind of life. Mu Ran had never seen a city with such a spacious street before. The ground was spotless, and there were even cleaners and patrolling soldiers. The faces of the commoners were brimming with happiness. Although the city was still rather cold and cheerless, Mu Ran felt that if news of a place like Wushu Empire were to spread out, the entire city would be filled with countless people. This place will definitely be filled to the brim. This is going to be a great country. The scale of this country will surpass the other 3 countries. But at this moment, Mu Ran was worried. The rise of Voidless Empire would definitely cause the other 3 empires to become envious, and they might even join forces to attack this place. At that time, there would be no lack of bloodshed. Mu Ran dared to guarantee that those kings would definitely do such a thing. Tang Wei, you guys find a place to stay first. I will go and have an audience with him. Mu Ran said softly. Tang Wei said worriedly. How can we do that? We are already here. We must follow Miss. Tang Wei, we had an agreement. Mu Ran said in a low voice. I don't care. If something happens to Miss, I don't want to live anymore. When Wei Chong heard his wife's words, he blushed with shame. Your acting is a little too exaggerated. Mu Ran was also touched. She had only been together with Tang Wei for a month, but she could deeply feel Tang Wei's care. Tang Wei, thank you, but I still hope that you and Wei Chong can live a good life. Don't follow me and take risks. Miss, without you, Uncle Wei and I wouldn't even be able to enter the city. We can't repay such a great kindness. Miss, we will always be by your side. Why does Wei Chong feel that his wife doesn't seem to be acting anymore? She seems to have gotten into character a bit. Tang Wei was indeed a little immersed in her role and treated Mu Ran as her younger sister. Mu Ran also had a headache. Tang Wei's persistence made Mu Ran feel happy, but also melancholy. Tang Wei, Wei Chong, Sang Hong, thank you. Mu Ran bowed to the 3 of them. Along the way, he could clearly feel the care they had shown him. Wei Chong had a good impression of the kind Mu Ran, so he smiled. Sang Kong Hong appeared very normal and did not say anything. Mu Ran was already used to Sang Kong Hong's personality and did not say anything. The 4 of them walked towards the distant Imperial Palace. Even if they were standing at the same spot, they would still be able to see the tall tower on top of the Imperial Palace. Under the illumination of the setting sun, the tall tower revealed a sense of solemnity. Mu Ran was clearly right in front of them, yet they walked all the way until night fell. Once again, Mu Ran felt that the number of people in Wushu Empire was very small. Right now, Wushu Empire was completely relying on Mu Ran to gain popularity. After walking to the outside of the walls of the Imperial Palace, Mu Ran exclaimed in admiration. This should be a city within a city, right? I feel that just a single Imperial Palace of Wushu Empire is already as big as Gouda Principality. Furthermore, the degree of extravagance that Wushu Empire has is already so terrifying. Finally, they walked to the entrance of the Imperial Palace, and Mu Ran's breathing became a bit hurried, because the entire Imperial Palace was emitting out a strange aura, causing one's heart to feel heavy, and one didn't dare to look up and could only lower one's head. On both sides of the Imperial Palace stood a row of black armored warriors. The aura that these black armored warriors were emitting out made Mu Ran feel even heavier. Furthermore, their faces could not be seen clearly at all, which added a sense of mystery to them. Mu Ran walked to the center of the Imperial Palace and shouted out respectfully, I'm the Holy Maiden of Gouda Principality. I have something to ask of Wushu Empire's king. The 2 rows of black armored warriors did not have any reaction and just stood there quietly. Even if it was like this, Mu Ran did not dare to take another step forward. I feel that if I were to take another step forward, these black armored warriors would immediately pull out their swords. After waiting for a long time, Mu Ran shouted out again, Gouda Principality's Holy Maiden requests to see the king. The golden gate of the Imperial Palace could be heard finally opening. The person who appeared was Zishan. Looking at the woman who was not far away, Mu Ran's beautiful eyes flashed past. Could this be the king's concubine? So beautiful. She's just as beautiful as the one I saw at the entrance just now, but that kind of beauty is different. Our emperor is already resting. If you have something to say, come back tomorrow morning. Zishan shouted out lightly, then walked back to the imperial palace. Mu Ran was slightly surprised. This woman doesn't seem to be the king's concubine. My God, such a beautiful woman is actually not the king's concubine. This is truly inconceivable. In Mu Ran's heart, such a beautiful woman would definitely be forcefully occupied by the king. Let's go and find an inn to rest first. Mu Ran said lightly. It is already so late, indeed. We shouldn't have come to meet the king. However, I am truly curious, and thus, I want to see just what the king looks like as soon as possible. Tang Wei nodded her head, and the four of them went to find an inn to rest. In the imperial palace, Yihua was sitting in his bedroom, and Dongwang Baiji was standing behind Yihua. Dongwang Baiji's delicate hands were lightly pressing on her husband's shoulders, while Qinya was sitting at the side and peeling an orange. Yihua, didn't you want to meet this Mu Ran a lot recently? Why is it that now that she is here, why aren't you letting her in? Qinya peeled an orange and sent it to Yihua's mouth. Right now, Yihua was already used to being served like this by his wives. This is how a wife should be. I should have done this long ago. Yihua lightly chewed on the orange, then said, This Mu Ran is still a thorn right now. She needs to be polished properly. Others are serving the motherland, and yet you said that she is a thorn. Qinya pinched on her husband's cheeks petulantly, and Yihua immediately turned his head around and lightly bit on Qinya's slender fingers. This caused Qinya's heart to jump. Even though we are already an old married couple, we are still unable to endure Yihua's teasing. Every time, Yihua's teasing would cause my heart to palpitate and my face to turn red. What a bad fellow. Chapter 765. Yihua slightly sucked on Qinya's finger, then said with a smile, Think of a good show tomorrow and test this Mu Ran. You, a girl, risked her life to come here, yet you are bullying her. Dongwang Baiji said with a smile. Yihua's gaze became serious, and he said in a low voice, Since you risked your life to come here, then you should be prepared to die at any moment. Don't Qinya and Dongwang Baiji know about Yihua's personality? They're thinking of ways to test Mu Ran and see if she can join the group. Yihua felt that right now, the number of people in the team was more or less enough. Thus, if anyone wanted to join the team, they would have to be the elites among the elites. There are still two idiots who are staying outside, and I have no idea what is going on with them. Perhaps they might be able to bring me a bit of surprise. All right, let's go back and rest. After being bored for so many days, there is finally something going on. Yihua stood up, then pulled Qinya into his embrace, then pulled Dongwang Baiji into his embrace as well. It was obvious that he was preparing to roam free. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were already used to it, and thus, they continued to let Yihua do whatever he wanted. Yihua, do you know what you look like right now? Dongwang Baiji said with a smile. Yihua hugged onto his wife and asked curiously, What does it look like? Qinya said sweetly, Tyrant. Yihua went into a slight daze, then laughed out loud. All right, I like this title. Qinya, Dongwang Baiji, the arrival of Gouda Principality's saintess to Wushu Empire had caused quite a bit of a commotion. After all, Wushu Empire was also a vassal state of Gouda Principality in the past, and the reason why the saintess came to Wushu Empire was most likely also because of this matter. However, seeing such a powerful voidless empire, all of the citizens seemed to believe that voidless empire would be invincible. The next morning, Mu Ran woke up very early, because she planned to go to the imperial palace by herself. After all, this was a very dangerous matter. However, just as she arrived at the inn, Mu Ran saw the three of them. Miss, were you planning to go so early in the morning? Tang Wei curiously asked with a smile. Looking at the three people in front of her, Mu Ran's eyes were a little red. She smiled and said, Sister Tang. After Tang Wei heard that, she became a bit absent-minded. Soon after, she smiled and said, Miss, However, Mu Ran didn't know how powerful this sister was. If I acknowledge Tang Wei as my big sister, then Wei Chong will be my brother-in-law. What is Wei Chong? One of the 7 deadly sins, a direct subordinate of an honorable supreme. That was truly a position that was beneath only one and above all others. Thus, Mu Ran's unintentional actions seemed to be a direct ticket to the team. But that might not be the case. Because my current identity is all fake, everyone was lying to Mu Ran. Mu Ran looked at Song Kong Hong again and sighed softly. The 4 of them arrived at the palace gate again. This time, before Mu Ran could say anything, the gates of the imperial palace had already opened. It's just that today, its sole separation, it was another beautiful woman. This caused Mu Ran to be a bit confused. There are so many beautiful women in the imperial palace. If she isn't the emperor's, then who could she be? Just how beautiful is the empress? Mu Ran is truly too curious. Please follow me, Li Hun said lightly. He also saw the legendary Mu Ran, and he gave off a feeling of closeness. Thank you, Mu Ran said softly. Last night, Zishan had also rushed out to take a look at Mu Ran. Everyone was very curious about what kind of girl Mu Ran was. Walking into the imperial palace, Mu Ran felt a sense of oppression. And as she walked deeper into the imperial palace, the sense of oppression became even stronger. Breathing became difficult, and even walking became difficult. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to feel it, but as a heaven's law's doer, Mu Ran was able to feel the terrifying aura. Just who is the emperor of this place? Walking up the stairs, Mu Ran seemed to be having a hard time, and sweat could be seen flowing down from her forehead. Li Hun, who was walking at the front, seemed to be very relaxed, and this made Mu Ran feel that it was inconceivable. Just how strong is this girl? I, a heaven's law's doer, am having such a hard time, and yet she is actually able to walk so easily. Tang Wei and Wei Chong were ordinary people, so there was no problem with their performance. However, Song Kong Hong was about to show off her acting skills. Learning from Mu Ran's way of walking, it felt very weird. Furthermore, the stairs were not just ordinarily tall. If not, how could the height of the entire imperial palace be displayed? After quite a while, Mu Ran finally stepped onto the top of the stairs and let out a breath. I'm a bit tired. It feels as if I just went through a battle. Li Hun walked into the palace gate and shouted out respectfully, "My emperor, Gouda Principality's holy maiden has arrived. Let her in." Mu Ran heard a deep and steady voice coming out from the palace gate. Judging from the voice, it should be a man. In Mu Ran's heart, she thought that the emperor was an old man and didn't expect that the emperor was a young man. "My emperor invites you in." Li Hun looked at Mu Ran and shouted out faintly. Mu Ran nodded her head respectfully, then slightly lowered her head and walked into the palace gate. Tang Wei and the others followed closely behind Mu Ran. Just after walking into the palace gate, Mu Ran felt that the panic in her heart was magnified infinitely, and her body couldn't help but tremble. Looking at the stone bricks beneath her feet, she felt that it was very weird. Mu Ran, who was walking forward with her head lowered, did not look at the 2 sides, and also did not look at Yi Hua, who was sitting on the throne. "Gouda Principality's holy maiden greets your majesty. Long live your majesty," Mu Ran shouted out respectfully. However, Mu Ran only bowed down, while Tang Wei and the others who were behind her were all kneeling down. "Audacious! Why are you still not paying your respects to our emperor?" Lai Gu shouted out according to the script. The current situation was very interesting. The Supreme Overlord brought along a group of subordinates and lied to a little girl. However, this smart little girl didn't know that everyone was just acting. Hearing Lai Gu's words, Mu Ran suddenly calmed down. "Paying my respect to the emperor is the etiquette of a subject. I am the Gouda Principality's holy maiden, and the person I pay my respects to is only the Gouda Principality's king." "Impudent!" Luo Ho shouted out coldly and immediately released a wave of pressure. Mu Ran immediately felt that the pressure on her back was very heavy, and her legs were unconsciously pressed down onto the ground. However, Mu Ran still had her dignity, and as a weak heaven's law doer, she risked her life to resist against the pressure. Yihua sat on the throne and watched quietly. Looking at the current performance, I barely passed the test. The empress who was sitting on the two sides, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji's expression didn't change. This is not the time to speak, and there is no need to speak. However, toward the girl below, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were rather impressed. A weak little girl actually dares to barge into Wushu Empire. Very formidable. The subordinates who were standing on the two sides couldn't help but nod their heads. Although the girl is a bit weak, her character is tough enough. Luoho immediately increased the pressure on Mu Ran, and Mu Ran's legs were no longer able to withstand the pressure. This pressure feels as if it is being released by my master, and my master is a powerful king. A clear and melodious voice resounded throughout the hall, and Holy Maiden Mu Ran finally knelt in front of Yihua. Mu Ran clenched her fists tightly. However, facing such a powerful person, there was nothing she could do. Chapter 766. All of the subordinates were slightly startled. As expected of a girl with character to actually dare to rebuke his honor, her guts are not ordinary. What? Do you have a problem with me? Yihua placed both of his hands on the dragon claws and asked lightly. Mu Ran, who was firmly pressed on the ground, said in a tender voice, "It's not that I have an opinion. I'm just disappointed." Yihua, Qinya, and Dongwang Baiji were almost unable to hold back their laughter. Who asked you to act cool in front of others? Look at what happened now. You are now unable to get out of this embarrassing situation. The group of subordinates remained silent. This seemed to have deviated from the script. They didn't expect Mu Ran to actually dare to say it. Raise your head. Yihua waved his hand and had Luoho release the pressure that he was exerting on Mu Ran. Mu Ran, who was kneeling on the ground, felt her whole body relax, but she still maintained her posture as if she was very stubborn. This emperor wants you to raise your head. Didn't you hear me? Yihua said gravely. This Mu Ran indeed has a personality. She is actually not afraid of me at all. If it was someone else, they would have long been scared to the point that they peed their pants. This time, Mu Ran did not resist. She slowly raised her head and saw the curious emperor. The first impression that Yihua gave Mu Ran was evil chi. This man's appearance was indescribably stunning. His face seemed to be the product of meticulous sculpting. His handsomeness contained a unique beauty, and he was very young. This was different from the emperor he had imagined. And he also saw the empress. Although Mu Ran didn't know who was the queen, she felt that they were the most beautiful women she had ever seen. Their beauty couldn't be described with words. She felt that such perfect women shouldn't exist. When the three of them sat on top, they were simply too compatible. Furthermore, Mu Ran was also sizing up both sides with the corner of her eyes. There aren't any officials around. He also saw the three girls in the group. One of them was the one he saw at the city gate yesterday, the other one was last night, and the last one was the one who had just brought him in. Although they were also very beautiful, compared to the two women on the stage, they were still slightly inferior. Furthermore, there were actually two children in this group of people. The ones Mu Ran saw should be Yi Zizi and Kai Yun. Their bodies were no different from children. They were even green and red, and scarecrows. And the undead. There were also many beautiful women. Just what kind of country is this? There are no officials. There are only this kind of people. So strange. Tell me, which part of you are disappointed in me? Yihua asked again. Mu Ran let out a small sigh of relief. When I entered the city, the emperor admired you very much. Your system made this place very perfect. I thought that the emperor here should be a wise ruler. From your tone, it seems like I am not a wise ruler. Yihua asked back. Yes, perhaps you are a tyrant. All of Mu Ran's subordinates sucked in a mouthful of cold air. This Mu Ran's guts can cover the sky. He actually said that his honor is a tyrant. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were a bit astonished. Just yesterday night, I said that Yihua is a tyrant, and I didn't expect that this Mu Ran would be able to see through Yihua's true nature with just a single look. At this moment, Yihua laughed. This Mu Ran, you have quite a good eye. To other emperors, they might be very angry that others said that. After all, tyrant was a derogatory term, but Yihua felt that this was a compliment to him. Because what she said was very right. I was a tyrant from the very beginning. I never wanted to be a wise ruler. This Muran was just like what Wei Chong said, courageous and smart. Your name is Muran? Yihua asked faintly. Yes, Muran replied. Neither servile nor overbearing. Do you know that you have already committed a crime punishable by death? I know. Then why are you still saying it? I'm just saying what I think, Muran said lightly, seemingly unable to hear the waves that were surging in her heart. Yihua laughed lightly. Then his expression suddenly changed as he shouted out, Men! 2 black armored soldiers could be seen walking in from the door, then kneeled on the ground and shouted out respectfully, My emperor! Drag them out and behead them. Yihua waved his hand and said lightly. All of Yihua's subordinates were startled. This is already a serious deviation from the script. There's no such thing as this. Even Qinya and Donghuang Baiji looked at Yihua confusedly, seemingly saying, after waiting for so long, You're going to behead them? Yes. The black armored soldiers would definitely listen to Yihua. Meanwhile, Muran, who was kneeling on the ground, still appeared very calm, seemingly as if she had long expected that this would happen. The 2 black armored soldiers arrived at Muran, who was kneeling on the ground, and propped her up. Your Majesty, my family's young miss didn't mean to offend you. Your Majesty, please forgive her, Tang Wei hurriedly pleaded, thinking that this might be a part of his honor's performance. Yihua said faintly, Behead them as well. After hearing what Yihua said, Muran finally had a reaction as she shouted out emotionally, Your Majesty, this matter was caused by me. It has nothing to do with them. What's the point of you pleading for them? What qualifications do you have to plead with me? Gouda Principality's holy maiden. That is nothing more than a joke. Yihua said faintly. His expression was indifferent, no different from tyrant. Muran couldn't care so much. She immediately kneeled on the ground and shouted out, Your Majesty, they are innocent. If I had offended you in any way just now, please punish one of them. Holy maiden? Then why didn't you think for them when you spoke just now? Don't you know what will happen if you anger me? And they will also be implicated by you. You only cared about your own words. Have you ever thought about their comfort? You have disappointed me greatly. After what Yihua said, everyone seemed to feel that what Yihua said made sense. Meanwhile, Muran, who was kneeling on the ground, looked blankly at Yihua, who was sitting on the throne. I have indeed neglected Big Sister Tang Wei and the others. What he said is right. I didn't care about their comfort. I only cared about myself. In actuality, this is human nature. Muran isn't a real holy maiden. She didn't think that much, but Yihua grabbed onto Muran's faulty wording and crushed the line of defense in Muran's heart. Right now, Yihua was also a person who used his brain. He was no longer that skeleton who only knew how to fight and kill. With just a single sentence, Yihua crushed Muran to the point that Muran started to doubt her own style. Holy Maiden Muran, during this 1 month, I have heard of your deeds. You have been governing the country since you were very young, and you even have the title of a genius. You are the holy maiden in the eyes of the commoners. But after seeing you today, I feel that those are all rumors. You are very selfish, not caring about the life and death of others. Am I right? Muran had a blank look on her face. She was completely unable to refute Yihua. Right now, she didn't even dare to look at Big Sister Tang Wei and the others. Death is a kind of release for you. Yihua waved his hand, and the 2 black armored warriors lifted Muran up again. In an instant. Chapter 767. Muran, who was at a loss, once again looked towards Song Konghong. It seems that every time I am in a life or death situation, Song Konghong would always protect me without any hesitation. Even if I did something wrong just now, Song Konghong would still do so. Mississippi. Right at this moment, Tang Wei also came over and held on to Muran. Meanwhile, Wei Chong, who was at the side of Tang Wei, didn't understand what kind of script his honor was playing. A sadomasochism script, a damsel in distress script, or a life and death script. Mu Ran absent-mindedly looked at Tang Wei and suddenly felt very wronged. Just now, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry, Sister Tang. Mu Ran, who had always been strong, was actually feeling wrong to the point of crying. Mu Ran was crying because she was wronged by Yihua. Of course, there was also their understanding. At this kind of moment, Yihua didn't blame Mu Ran and was still protecting Mu Ran, especially Blue Sky Red. Miss, don't you think we don't know your personality? It's hard for people to not make mistakes. Tang Wei carefully guided. Mu Ran's life had always been smooth sailing, and she rarely experienced any setbacks. Even in the Gouda Duchy, the king did not dare to rashly punish her because she had the huge Tianliang sect behind her. Mu Ran had neglected one point. This was not the Duchy of Gouda. The person sitting on the throne was not her own king, but a tyrant. If he wanted to kill someone, it would not be because he had a powerful backer. Even if the heavens were to back him up, this emperor would kill him without a second word. San Kong Hong had no choice but to carry out his honor's secret mission, which was to protect Mu Ran. This Mu Ran was about to be chopped. Could it be that he still wouldn't step forward? In fact, San Kong Hong was also wondering if he should continue with the secret mission. When Mu Ran was lifted for the second time, San Kong Hong decided to continue with the mission. Lai Gu, who was standing at the side, seemed to have understood his honor's intention. It wasn't just Lai Gu who understood his honor's intention. Everyone else more or less understood it as well. Is his honor directing a plan to injure himself to gain the confidence of others? Yihua did not think too much about it. He just wanted to give Mu Ran a blow. That's all. This person's life mustn't be too smooth sailing. Only after experiencing setbacks would one know of one's own inadequacies. I, the Supreme Overlord, had also experienced setbacks before I woke up. This Mu Ran, who had been maintaining a calm state of mind the entire time, just now caused me to feel very unhappy. Mu Ran, you do have some brains, but in my eyes, you are just a person with brains. If you have this kind of attitude, what use do I have for you? Do you really think I want you to join? What a joke. To attack my bodyguard in front of the Emperor, Mu Ran, your bodyguard's guts are just as big as yours. Yihua said gravely, and killing intent gradually spread out from his body. This is truly a group of people trying to deceive the pitiful little girl. They are all in the same group. Mu Ran hurriedly knelt down and begged, Your Majesty, San Kong Hong didn't do it on purpose. He only did it to save me. You sure are loyal. How do you think we should settle this matter? Yihua asked back. This was also a part of the test. The test was to see Mu Ran's adaptability. The subordinates naturally knew that his honor was going to start the examination, and they were truly afraid of his honor's examination. This was especially so for Fushi, who unconsciously took a step back. Mu Ran quickly thought about it. It did not matter to her, but how could she save their lives? But how was he going to excuse himself from the attack? It was impossible. Your Majesty, I will use the soul of the heavenly path in exchange for their safety. Mu Ran had no other choice but to contribute his heavenly path. This was no different from sacrificing oneself. By extracting the heavenly Tao's soul, one wouldn't be able to live for long. In the end, one would wither and die. Yihua naturally understood what the Heaven's Path soul was used for, and he was a little astonished. They had been in contact with Mu Ran for about a month, but Mu Ran could actually use the heavenly Tao to exchange for their safety. It had to be said that Mu Ran was a girl of flesh and blood. Although she was indeed muddle-headed at times, her mind was still straightforward. In that kind of situation, a wave of wretchedness would have been the best result. This Mu Ran was still too upright. If Mu Ran was a little more tactful, how could she annoy her king? But it was because of her integrity that Wei Chong took a fancy to Mu Ran and strongly recommended her. Soul of the heavens, this is a pretty good suggestion, Yihua said lightly. Mu Ran heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had agreed. But this emperor doesn't want your soul of the heavenly Tao. This emperor isn't interested in that. Mu Ran, who had just relaxed, became nervous again. Your Majesty, this is all my fault. They only offended your Majesty to protect you. Please forgive them. Didn't you just say that? This emperor is a tyrant, and recklessly killing people seems to be what a tyrant should do. This emperor is just being the tyrant you speak of. Mu Ran felt that she was actually speechless. I was the one who said all those words. This emperor is very formidable. To be able to defeat me with just a few words. What? Saintus is speechless now? Yiwa asked faintly. My eloquence is getting better and better. With just a few words, I was able to make this genius speechless. Yiwa looked towards Kong Kong Hong, then looked towards Yuhua. This emperor has an idea that can pardon all of your crimes. Hearing this sentence, Mu Ran seemed to have seen hope. Your Majesty is benevolent. Hee. Now you know that this emperor is benevolent. Just now, you even shamelessly boasted that this emperor is a tyrant. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji snickered in their hearts. This Yihua is such a miser, scaring everyone to death. Mu Ran lowered her head and remained silent. I have learned a lot of things today. Seeing that this guard of yours is loyal and courageous, let's see how much he is willing to sacrifice for you. Mu Ran didn't understand. Yuhua, Yihua shouted out. Yuhua, who was in the group, went into a slight daze, then walked out and shouted out respectfully, Your Majesty, your subordinate is here. Spar with this loyal and courageous man, and see how loyal and courageous he is. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard this. Let Yuhua beat up Blue Sky Red. This doesn't seem to be appropriate, right? Our relationship is already very stiff to begin with. If we do this, wouldn't it mean that we won't be able to contact each other, even if we die? Right now, Yuhua didn't understand what his honor was trying to do. There are so many people here. Why did his honor ask me to come out and spar with Song Kong Hong? The main point was Song Kong Hong was only at the level of a doge at the moment. This was clearly a death sentence, and Moonlight couldn't bring herself to do it. At this moment, Song Kong Hong was dumbfounded. He did not understand what his honor meant by asking Moonlight to beat him up. I don't understand. Not only did Song Kong Hong not understand, even Qinya and Dongwang Baiji did not understand what Yihua meant. In actuality, Yihua was trying to free the two of them from this stalemate. If there was no breakthrough, the stalemate between the two of them would never be resolved. Today, I'm going to make Song Kong Hong understand that this woman is no longer the woman that you imagined her to be. She was someone else's woman. She can hurt you. Don't have any more illusions. Chapter 768. Your Majesty, I'll spar with you. Mu Ran hastily accepted the challenge without hesitation. Song Kong Hong was just an ordinary fighter. He was no match for Mu Ran. Mu Ran, are you going to give up your last chance to save yourself? Don't use your personality to challenge my bottom line. Yihua shouted out gravely. Mu Ran went silent. If he angered this emperor again, Tang Wei and the others would be implicated again. Everyone move aside. Yihua shouted out faintly. His subordinates retreated to the side, leaving an empty space in the middle. Tang Wei helped Mu Ran to stand up and stood at the side. Mu Ran stared at that tall figure as her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She could feel that Song Kong Hong was against her. But why would he stand out to protect her every single time? She truly couldn't understand. But no matter what, Mu Ran was still moved when she saw that resolute back view. She prayed to the heavens that Song Kong Hong would not be injured. Even if he had to suffer the pain, they were all good people, and he was the one who put them in danger. At this moment, Moonlight's emotions were very complicated. She slowly turned around and looked at Song Kong Hong, who was wearing a mask. Song Kong Hong also turned to look at Yuhua. Her face under the mask was a little strange. It was tense and relaxed at times. It was as if he was in a very complicated mood. Isn't Yuhua the same as well? However, since his honor has already spoken, how can I possibly disobey his order? Kai Yun, who was standing not too far away from Yuhua, was also very worried about his two subordinates. On the day of Yuhua's wedding, the relationship between Yuhua and Yuhua had already become stiff. And now, his honor is lighting a fire on this relationship. Could it be that his honor wants Song Kong Hong to completely give up on him? As the people involved, Moonlight and Sky Hong, did not understand this logic. Seeing that Moonlight was just inches away from him, Song Kong Hong lowered his body slightly and got into an attacking stance. The aura of a doge immediately spread out. When Moonlight saw Firmament Hong's action, her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Sky Red took the initiative to attack. This 10,000-year relationship was finally going to come to an end today. The aura of a doge instantly spread throughout the palace. Sky Red simply punched Yuhua's face. Yuhua stood still and waited patiently. Muran clenched her fists tightly. Boom! The punch slammed heavily into Yuhua's face, and a dull thud rang out. The huge rebound force sent Sky Red flying, and he crashed into one of the pillars in the palace. Boom! Boom! The dragon on the pillar suddenly moved. It let out a dragon roar, seemingly very displeased. Yihua's gaze turned cold, and the latter obediently fused back into the pillar. Muran was dumbfounded. She thought that the dragon on the pillar had been carved. Who would have thought that the divine dragon was real? Just now, the dragon head appeared and let out a dragon roar, and then it returned to its original state. Could it be that he was hallucinating just now? However, right now, red of blue sky had landed under the pillar, and a trace of blood flowed out from the mask. Fixing one's strength at the level of a doge would not be able to withstand such rebound damage. On the other hand, Yuhua did not attack at all. She only used the weakest defensive method. Even the weakest method was not something a fighter could withstand. Song Kong Hong stood up slowly and attacked Yuhua again. Boom! Song Kong Hong's body was sent flying again. He seemed to be using this method to wake himself up and stop being so stubborn. She was someone else's woman, no longer the Yuhua from before. Blue Sky Red attacked again and was sent flying again. Muran, who was standing at the side, was crying. Her heart was heavy as she watched Sky Red's attacks fail again and again. Yuhua was also furious. What are you doing? Was he using such a method to make himself suffer? Sure, you did it. Song Kong Hong punched out once again, and this time, Yuhua finally moved. A water pillar gushed out from Yuhua's body and directly grabbed onto Song Kong Hong's fist. The water pillar then condensed into another fist and fiercely punched on its Song Kong Hong's abdomen. Boom! A shockwave was actually created by this punch. Song Kong Hong. Muran couldn't help but shout out. Yuhua instantly released an oppressive might and pressed Muran onto the ground, making her unable to move. This is something that my subordinates have only seen. I have to settle this matter today. Blood was flowing out from under Song Kong Hong's mask. Feeling Yuhua's punch didn't land on his body. Instead, it landed on his heart. Boom! Yuhua punched out once again. Song Kong Hong felt great. The more Yuhua punches me like this, the more my feelings towards her will fade. Stop punching me. Muran shouted out miserably. She was worried for Song Kong Hong, completely unaware that the two of them were currently dealing with their relationship issues. Song Kong Hong raised his left fist, seemingly wanting to punch Yuhua again. However, another water pillar grabbed onto Song Kong Hong's fist, and Song Kong Hong's entire body was hung in the air by the water pillar. Then, Song Kong Hong was punched by the water fist. Suddenly, Song Kong Hong felt that what Yuhua did was not bad. This way, I won't have to worry about you anymore. Are you living well every day? Are you eating on time every day? Are you happy? Yuhua seemed to have understood as she punched Song Kong Hong fiercely. However, such a scene caused Muran, who was at the side, to cry. Yuhua's subordinates remained silent. They didn't expect that today's matter would turn out like this. After punching out one last time and sending Song Kong Hong flying away, Yuhua stood at her original spot and remained silent. Meanwhile, Song Kong Hong had already fainted. Yuhua's control was very good, so Song Kong Hong's life wasn't in danger. However, Song Kong Hong, who was under the mask, had a smile on her face. Yuhua released Muran's oppressive might, and Muran hurriedly ran over to check on Song Kong Hong's injuries. Muran felt that Song Kong Hong's injuries were very serious. This woman is so ruthless. She is actually abusing the weak. Yuhua let out a breath. His mood didn't seem to be too good. Today's matter shall end here. Holy Maiden is not allowed to take even half a step out of the palace. After finished speaking, Yihua turned around and left. We respectfully send off our emperor. Yihua's subordinates shouted out respectfully. Everyone took a look at Mu Ran and Song Kong Hong, then silently turned around and left. Only Li Han remained at the scene and arranged a place for Song Kong Hong to stay. "Follow me," Li Han said faintly. The petite Mu Ran carried Song Kong Hong on her back once again, and her beautiful eyes were still red. When Li Han saw that Mu Ran actually cared so much for Song Kong Hong, he was a bit surprised. It's a pity that a man who is in the midst of falling out of love is completely unable to understand the care and concern of other women. However, after this incident, Song Kong Hong should have already given up on Yuhua. The palace was very big. Li Han arranged the most ordinary palace for Mu Ran and the others to stay in. After giving a few instructions, Li Han left. Meanwhile, Mu Ran took out all of the medicine that she had and gave Song Kong Hong's treatment. When Tang Wei and Wei Chong, who were standing at the side, saw how anxious Mu Ran was for Song Kong Hong, they felt slightly at ease. As for whether or not Song Kong Hong would have such good fortune, they didn't know. There are a lot of women in this world, but one must definitely find a woman who loves one, and must definitely not find a woman who loves one but doesn't love one back. Chapter 769. Seems like Song Kong Hong has some luck with women. After getting beaten up by Yu Hua, he has Mu Ran taking care of him. What a lucky bastard. But many things can happen in a dozen days. For example, in Guda Principality, King Feng Yongzhong was receiving 2 people from Tianliang's sect. They were Mu Ran's senior brother and senior sister. Junior sister Mu Ran had only left the sect for a month, but 1.5 months had passed, and she was nowhere to be seen. So she had no choice but to come down the mountain to look for her. After all, junior sister was a Heaven Dao expert now, and the sect took good care of her. The 2 of them stood in the study room, casually. Other than Feng Yongzhong, Ding Wenbo was beside them. "Young Master Tai, Miss Yin, please take a seat." Feng Yongzhong was very polite. They were from Tianliang's sect, so he had to treat them well. After all, Tianliang's sect wasn't to be trifled with, and he knew why they came today. Tai Hongguang and Yun Ting looked indifferent, as if they didn't care about the king at all. Feng Yongzhong was angry, but he couldn't do anything about it. "Where is my junior sister?" Yun Ting asked coldly. Ding Wenbo smiled. "Miss Yin, you're talking about Mu Ran, right? Did I ask you?" Yun Ting turned to look at Ding Wenbo. The latter instantly lowered his head and cursed in his heart. A dog that relies on its master's power. "Miss Yin, Mu Ran isn't in Guda Principality now." Feng Yongzhong smiled. Tai Hongguang said solemnly, "Feng Yongzhong, what is Mu Ran's status now? You should know. If you hide her or have other thoughts, you should know the consequences." "Why would I? I won't have other thoughts," Feng Yongzhong quickly said, but in his heart, he wished he could cut these 2 into pieces. Every time he saw these people from Tianliang's sect, he wished he could flatten them. "I don't want to speak any more nonsense. Where's Mu Ran? We are going to take her away," Tai Hongguang shouted coldly. It seemed that this man and woman weren't to be trifled with. Feng Yongzhong sighed deeply. Truth be told, Mu Ran went to Wushu Empire. Wushu Empire? Yin Ting was puzzled. Why hadn't he heard of such a country before? Yes, this empire used to be called Lingtai Country. It was occupied recently and called itself an empire. They didn't care about Tianliang's sect at all. After all, they didn't report to Tianliang's sect when they founded the empire. Mu Ran is merciful and doesn't want the 2 sides to fight, so he went there alone to gather information. Feng Yongzhong was a scheming person. Yin Ting's gaze turned cold. "You actually let Mu Ran go alone. Mu Ran's temper is very stubborn. She won't give in. Right now, it has already been a month, and there is still no news from Mu Ran at all. I'm afraid." Feng Yongzhang's face was filled with worry, seemingly as if it was real. "It's already been a month." Tai Hongguang growled. There had been no news of his junior sister for a month. This was probably not a good thing. After all, junior sister was now a heavenly Lao Zhe. Feng Yongzhang nodded and said in a deep voice, "I watched Mu Ran grow up. I won't let this matter rest. I've been making arrangements for sending troops these few days. Tai Hongwang and Yun Ting took a look at each other. Right now, finding Junior's sister is more important. What is there to be afraid of for a small empire? Without saying anything, the two walked out of the study room and flew into the sky. After seeing the two left, Feng Yongzhang snorted coldly. What kind of joke is this? Isn't this just relying on the Tianliang sect that is behind them? Your Majesty, Ding Wenba, who was at the side, called out in a low voice. Speak. It is time to pave the way for the fourth prince, Ding Wenba suggested. After hearing that, Feng Yongzhang paused for a moment, then said, Speak. Wushu Empire cannot be allowed to be destroyed by the Tianliang sect. Right now, the fourth prince needs to go on a war, and Wushu Empire is the best choice. What you said makes a bit of sense. Just now, I had also told them about the matter of sending troops out in front of them. From the looks of it, it is time for us to pave the way for Yun. Your Majesty is wise. After all, Mu Ran had the identity of a saintess in Gouda Principality, and furthermore, she was also a heavenly law doja. Even if Gouda Principality didn't come looking for Mu Ran, the Tianliang sect would definitely come looking for Mu Ran. It doesn't matter who comes looking for Mu Ran, I will kill every single one of them. If a group of people comes, kill them all. Let the entire Northern Liang sect know that Wushu Empire is the most stable place for them to live in. Very quickly, Tai Hongwang and Yun Ting found the location of Wushu Empire. Senior brother, should we go back and report this? Yun Ting asked faintly. Tai Hongwang appeared to be very relaxed. There is no need to report a small empire. As long as Mu Ran is still alive, we will naturally be able to snatch it back. If something happens to Mu Ran, then this Wushu Empire will have to be prepared to suffer the wrath of the Tianliang sect. Yun Ting replied lightly. The two of them quickly flew towards Wushu Empire. The two of them had the strength of a rank 9 dosher, and they could basically walk unhindered in these empires. In less than an hour, the two of them saw the outline of Wushu Empire, and they couldn't help but be startled. Senior brother, is this Wushu Empire? Yun Ting rubbed his eyes and asked in disbelief. Tai Hongwang was a little absent-minded as well. This was the first time that he had seen such a magnificent empire. This kind of layout feels even more luxurious and imposing than my Tianliang sect. This has indeed broadened my horizons. Tai Hongwang muttered softly. Such a city was indeed something that people yearned for. Even if the Tianliang sect were to move here, it would definitely not be bad. Yun Ting suggested softly. Senior brother, I feel that this Wushu Empire is not ordinary. It is best that we return and report to Master and see what decision Master makes. Hearing Yun Ting's words, Tai Hongwang seemed to have lost a lot of face. It was as if he was frightened by the other party's imposing manner and wanted to return to find reinforcements. Therefore, Tai Hongwang wasn't afraid at all. What is there to be afraid of? They're just paper tigers. Junior's sister might have been captured. Yun Ting paused for a moment and took a deep breath. Then let us find Junior's sister first. Junior's sister is definitely locked up in the palace now. If we directly fly to the palace to snatch her back, we might not even need to snatch her back. When they hear us say our sect, they might be scared witless. Tai Hongwang seemed to be very confident. Actually, as long as they went to other empires, the other party's king would be scared stiff and wouldn't dare to say anything. This was the strength of the Tianliang sect. In the Northern Liang sect, they were the sky. Yun Ting also seemed to have been influenced by Tai Hongwang and felt that what his senior brother said was right. With such a powerful Tianliang sect backing them up, what was there to be afraid of? Therefore, the two of them directly flew towards the palace. But in Wushu Empire, flying was forbidden. Anyone who dared to fly into Wushu Empire would be killed. Tai Hongwang and Yun Ting didn't understand and flew towards Wushu Empire without any thoughts. Only after flying did they realize that Wushu Empire was indeed magnificent. It was much bigger and longer than they had imagined. Chapter 770. Suddenly, the two of them were blocked by 4 figures. 4 white-armored warriors stood in the void, looking at the two of them with killing intent. Tai Hongwang and Yun Ting were slightly surprised. This was the first time he had seen a country's guard have the ability to fly. This was an ability that only a Do Shi possessed. Could it be that all the guards in this country were at least Do Shi? That was impossible. Furthermore, there isn't any fluctuation of Do Qi on these 4 people. How is this possible, Senior? Yin Ting murmured, clearly asking what they should do. Tai Hongwang felt ashamed. He was actually blocked by a small empire. Tai Hongwang's hand condensed, and a long sword appeared in his hand, giving off an unbreakable aura. Meanwhile, the commoners that were entering the city looked towards the sky in puzzlement. They were able to see the sky, but they were only able to see 6 little black dots. Was this an intruder? To think that the guards of the Voidless Empire could actually fly into the sky. That was way too frightening, wasn't it? He wondered if they would be a match for those 2 people. Tai Hongwang instantly erupted with a fierce Do Qi, and the long sword in his hand immediately slashed towards the 4 white-armored warriors. White Cool Chop. Any disciple of the Cold Sky sect would know this move, and Tai Hongwang felt that this move was enough. Go to hell, you scum. The 4 white-armored warriors did not move at all, and the silver sword Qi pierced through their waists. Seeing this scene, Tai Hongwang felt a little proud. Beside him, Yun Ting also admired his senior. With one strike, he had killed 4 Do Shis from the other party. Senior brother is indeed powerful. Junior sister, look, it's just SOSO. Tai Hongwang said proudly. Senior brother, you're really amazing. Yun Ting gave him face and praised him. As expected, Tai Hongwang became even happier after hearing his junior sister's praise. However, the two of them realized that the 4 people opposite them were expressionless, as if they were not injured at all. Senior brother, Yun Ting had a bad premonition. Tai Hongwang also noticed the abnormality because none of them was bleeding. How was this possible? His sword Qi had pierced through their abdomens. There was actually no blood. Were they not human? White-armored warriors, they're all filled with snow water. Do you think that they have blood or not? An inconceivable scene occurred. The abdomen that had been cut off had actually merged back together. Tai Hongwang's eyes were filled with shock, while Yun Ting, who was beside him, immediately condensed a long sword. One of the white-armored warriors said coldly, barging into Wushu Empire, "Die." Just as the word "die" was uttered, Yun Ting saw the person disappear. A section of her hair slowly fell off, as if it had been cut off by a sharp blade. Yun Ting slowly turned his head to look at his senior brother beside him. He saw his senior brother standing there in a daze, the long sword in his hand falling to the ground. His hand were covering his neck, and blood was seeping out from the gaps between his fingers. Ew, I am... Yun Ting looked at his senior brother blankly, and before he could even finish speaking, his head slid off, and his entire body also fell onto the ground. Yun Ting could not help but shiver. He gripped the long sword in his hand tightly as he looked at the 4 white-armored warriors in front of him. They were definitely not Do Shis. Senior is a 9th grade Do Shi. It could instantly kill a 9th tier Do Shi. Their strength was definitely above that of a Do Shi. How is this possible? The guards of the city gate were actually Do Shi. This was simply unprecedented. Junior sister actually went to such a place alone. She must have a slim chance of survival. And me, even my senior brother was stronger than me, and he died. Seems like it will be hard for me to escape death as well. No, I cannot die. I have to report what happened here to the sect. Yun Ting could be seen waving her sword. Then, without any hesitation, she turned around and ran. Her speed was so fast that it seemed as if her house was on fire. The 4 guards watched as Yun Ting ran away. One of them moved slightly, then shrunk back as if he had received some kind of order. Soon after, he disappeared from the sky, dealt with the corpses on the ground, then continued to stand guard. Trespassing into Wushu Empire. Die. As for letting Yun Ting go, it was to let her go back and secretly report. waiting for Tianliang's sex revenge. Yihua had already received Yuhua's report. I didn't expect that Tianliang's sect would come looking for me first. Regarding Yuhua letting one of the guards go, Yihua praised her, which made me very happy. Yihua had a feeling that there was going to be a good show to watch soon. As long as Mu Ran stayed here, they would find all kinds of excuses to attack Wushu Empire. After all, Wushu Empire was too luxurious, and many people wanted to take it for themselves. This was the human heart. It could never be satisfied. Right now, Mu Ran was taking care of Song Konghong. This time, Song Konghong was indeed beaten up quite badly by Yuhua, to the point that he couldn't even take care of himself anymore. Mu Ran didn't dislike Song Konghong at all. Although she was a little embarrassed at the start, Song Konghong had saved her time and time again. So no matter what, I have to treat him well. After going through Yuhua's abuse, the weight in his heart had lessened by a lot, and he didn't miss Yuhua as much as before. However, a new problem came. This little girl, she actually saw me naked and even wiped my body. I have completely lost all my face. Open your mouth, eat. Mu Ran slightly wrinkled her brows, and her tone was filled with anger. Because this Song Konghong was very stubborn. I fed him food, but he didn't eat, as if he was throwing a tantrum at me. Song Konghong was speechless. When did I need you to take care of me? Can a grown man like me eat? Open your mouth. Did you hear me? Mu Ran was a bit angry. I've already taken care of you so much, yet I don't even know why you're throwing a tantrum. It's fine if you're throwing a tantrum, but why did you have to save me? This is a contradiction. Song Konghong secretly took a look at Mu Ran and discovered that this girl's eyes were a bit red. Soon after, Song Konghong retracted his gaze and remained silent. After quite a while, Mu Ran stabilized her state of mind, then said lightly, "If you don't treat me well, I won't feel guilty towards you." Song Konghong was saying in his heart, "I am merely following orders to protect you. That wasn't my original intention. Even if you're angry, you should eat your fill first before you get angry." Mu Ran said lightly, then brought the food to Song Konghong's mouth once again. At this moment, Wei Chong walked into the room and coughed lightly. Wei Chong then sent a voice transmission to Song Konghong and threatened him. "His honor wants you to obediently eat your fill." After hearing that, Song Konghong opened his mouth and ate the food. That's right, every part of Song Konghong's body was big, but his facial features were small. Mu Ran let out a breath of relief and looked at Wei Chong gratefully, then began feeding Song Konghong mouthful by mouthful. Looking at this scene, Wei Chong revealed a smile. In actuality, Mu Ran is a good girl. She knows how to take care of people. Chapter 771. Tang Wei, who was standing outside, called Wei Chong out, then looked at the two people on the bed and asked, "Uncle Wei, do you think they have a chance?" "I don't know," Wei Chong said lightly. Right now, it could only be said that Mu Ran had a good impression of Song Konghong. However, Song Konghong doesn't seem to have any feelings for Mu Ran. She hasn't even eaten for the past few days. She is so stubborn and wants to save face. She even brushed past Yuhua. Could it be that Mu Ran also wants to save face and let others leave in anger? I feel that Mu Ran has been very gentle these past few days. Look at Mu Ran's gaze. TSK, TSK, TSK. She has completely fallen in love with her. Tang Wei laughed lightly. Look at the current Mu Ran. When she was feeding Song Konghong, her beautiful eyes were filled with tenderness. The most important thing was, Mu Ran didn't dislike Song Konghong for being ugly. This was a very big problem. After all, Song Konghong's face was indeed too horrible to look at. Normal people wouldn't be able to take it. Song Konghong risked her life to save Mu Ran twice. As long as it's a kind-hearted girl, she would be touched. Wei Chong had his own opinion. In this Kangluo continent, girls were rather traditional. It was very normal for girls to devote themselves to someone when they couldn't return the favor. It's a pity. Look at that Song Konghong. She doesn't seem to have any feelings for Mu Ran. Tang Wei said helplessly. Right now, Mu Ran has already lowered herself. As long as Song Konghong is slightly more attentive, Mu Ran definitely won't be able to run away. Where else can I find such a considerate wife? Wei Chang shook his head. Song Kong Hong and Yue Hua just broke up. How could she fall in love with someone else so quickly? That's true. It's just that pitiful Mu Ran. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have tried to pull strings with her. Wei Chang poked Tang Wei's forehead. Yua, it's better for you to mind your own business. Humph, if you're capable, give me a child. Right now, in Guda Principality, Feng Yongzhang was currently talking to his son, Feng Yun, regarding the attack on Wushu Empire. Father, don't worry. Your son will definitely return victorious. Feng Yun was very confident. His first general seemed to be about to appear, and as long as he obtained a high-level general, he would be able to sweep through everything. If he got a character like Daji, it would be even more awesome. Feng Yongzhang thought very highly of his fourth brother. He patted his son's shoulder and said, Yinner, father is waiting for your triumphant return. When the time comes, I will set up a banquet for the entire imperial city, and the entire country will celebrate. I won't let you down. MHM good. However, according to the news from our scouts, the city walls of Voidless Empire are very tall. Is 100,000 soldiers enough? Do we need more? Feng Yongzhang was also a little worried. After all, this was OL4's first battle. If he failed, others would laugh at him. So he must not fail this time. He could only win. Feng Yun cupped his hands and said, Don't worry, Imperial Father. 100,000 soldiers are enough. When the time comes, I will take down the head of Wushu Empire's Emperor for Imperial Father to see. All right, Imperial Father will be waiting. After a pause, Feng Yongzhang continued. If you run into people from the Cold Sky sect, be careful. Imperial Father, I understand. Then go and prepare. We'll set off tomorrow. Yes. Gong Zheng cupped his hands and retreated. Then he walked out of the study, his face brimming with confidence. Destroying the Wushu Empire was the first step in his conquest of the Kangluo continent. Then he must do it beautifully. At this moment, outside the Guda Duchy, hundreds of thousands of soldiers had already started to gather. It was a black mass of people. Everyone's face was filled with battle intent, and their aura was extraordinary. As for the powerful Guda Duchy, this was only 1/10 of their military force. This was Feng Yongzhang's practice for his son. As for whether all of them could return alive, that would depend on their own abilities. On the other side, Yun Ting, who was escaping in a hurry, was so scared that her face turned pale. She was curious why they didn't chase after her to kill her. Although she was confused, Yun Ting didn't think too much about it. Now, she could only rush to the Cold Sky sect and report this matter to her teacher and sect leader. This Voidless Empire was very scary. Even the guards were to Do Shi's. So scary. After forcefully using Do Chi to support her flight for a day, Yun Ting finally saw the Cold Sky sect. The huge pressure disappeared at this moment. It was as if she had seen her mother. Instantly, she became weak and fell at the foot of the mountain of the Cold Sky sect. The entire Cold Sky sect was located on top of a towering mountain peak. The size of the mountain was extremely huge. It seemed as if there was some kind of life being nurtured within it. Many buildings were constructed around the mountain peak, and from time to time, human figures could be seen walking around. Yun Ting's teacher was also an elder and was a well-known person in the Cold Sky sect. And the news of Yun Ting fainting at the foot of the mountain spread very quickly. Did you hear? Senior Yun fainted at the foot of the mountain today, and her corpse was picked up by a junior who was passing by. Of course I heard about it. The entire Cold Sky sect knows about it. Speaking of which, Senior Yun is so strong. Why would she faint? Also, Senior Tai didn't come back. Could it be that something happened? That's possible. Otherwise, Senior Yin wouldn't rush back like this. She definitely has something to report. Hearing what you said, I feel that something big is going to happen. Sai, maybe. But I'm just curious. In this Cold Sky sect, who dares to offend my Cold Sky sect? They are really courting death. Indeed, some people are just tired of living and are looking for excitement. In Yun Ting's room, there were 3 people standing. 2 males and 1 female. One of them, who had white hair, was the Cold Sky sect master, Longu. This person had silver hair and wore a green robe. There wasn't any pendant on his body, but that old face of his gave off a strong aura, making people not dare to act rashly. Standing at the two sides of the room were two middle-aged men and a woman. The man's name was Ma Ji, and he was an elder. The woman was Mu Ran's teacher, and her name was Fong Meiying. Although she was already middle-aged, she still retained her charm. Sect Master, Yin Ting just fainted due to exhausting all of his duki. You should be fine, Fong Meiying said lightly. Longu slightly wrinkled his brows, and his lower jaw slightly moved. I want to know why. Maji nodded his head and injected a strand of duki into Yun Ting's body. Yun Ting, who was lying on the bed, his face slightly reddened, as if he was alive again. I asked him to go down the mountain to look for Mu Ran. Why did he become like this? Also, why didn't Tai Hongwang come back? Fong Ming said tenderly, and with a concerned gaze, she looked towards Yun Ting, who was lying on the bed. Let's ask Yun Ting later, and we will know what happened. Ma Ji, who was at the side, said softly, and his face was filled with confusion. Longu took a deep breath. Looking at the situation, they should have been attacked. I am afraid that Tai Hongwang is already dead, and Yun Ting also ran back to report the news. He is so tired that his duki is completely exhausted. Chapter 772. Just as Ma Ji finished speaking, Yin Ting, who was on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. Yin Ting, who opened his eyes, was a bit confused. He turned his head and looked, and his eyes suddenly turned red. Teacher, Yin Ting cried, and threw himself into his teacher Fong Meiying's embrace. Yin Ting, don't cry, teacher will help you. Fong Meiying lightly caressed Yun Ting's back and comforted him. He thought that Yun Ting must have been quite frightened. Longu looked at Yin Ting with a grave expression and said slowly, Yin Ting, tell us what happened. Why are you like this? Where is Mu Ran, and where is Tai Hongwang? Yin Ting stood up from his teacher's embrace and said while choking with sobs, Sect Master, Senior Marshal Brother was killed. Junior Marshal Sister Mu Ran was also captured. Hearing Yin Ting's words, the three's expression turned gloomy. I didn't expect that someone would really anger Tianliang's sect. What guts! Not only did they kill Tai Hongwang, they even kidnapped someone from the Heaven's Law. Who is it? Who dares to do this? Ma Ji questioned angrily. For so many years, Tianliang's sect had always been the symbol of authority. I didn't expect that someone would dare to trample on this authority. Do they want to die? It's a place called Wushu Empire. Thinking of those 4 white armored warriors, Yun Ting trembled slightly. That kind of fear was spreading in his heart. It would accompany him for his entire life. Wushu Empire? Longu was puzzled. I don't recall hearing about this place in northern Liang. Yun Ting nodded. Yes, Wushu Empire occupied the former Lingtai kingdom and transformed it into a majestic city. Gouda Principality originally wanted to take it back, but Junior Marshal Sister Mu Ran was kind-hearted. If she went to Wushu Empire alone, I'm afraid that she would be in danger. After Senior Marshal Brother and I heard about it, we immediately rushed to Wushu Empire. We were indeed shocked by Wushu Empire, but when we entered, we met 4 guards. Fong Meiying asked confusedly, for guards? What kind of guards? They were the guards at the city gate. They were wearing white armor. Yin Ting recalled the scene, and his eyes revealed fear. Ma Ji asked, you guys can fly? That's impossible. How can an empire's guard be able to fly? Ma Ji exclaimed with a face full of disbelief. Longu, who was at the side, was also slightly surprised and listened quietly. Yin Ting hurriedly said, Elder Ma, Yin Ting did not lie to you. At that time, Senior and I were also curious. After all, flying is something that only a dosher can possess. Senior was not afraid, so we attacked them. At this point, Yin Ting's lips twitched like a shocked rabbit. And then? Longu asked in a low voice. Then, their abdomen was injured by Senior Brother's sword Qi, but the injury healed. Yin Ting said while trembling with fear, and his voice was trembling a bit. This sentence shocked the three of them. This was the first time they had heard of such a healing method. It was illogical. Yin Ting continued. One of them was very fast. I didn't even feel anything before he beheaded my senior brother. Instant kill. The other party had actually instantly killed a 9th-tier Do Shi. How is this possible? Even Lan Gu's expression changed. A city gate guard of an empire was able to instantly kill a 9th-tier Do Shi. Impossible. Then how did you escape? Ma Ji asked curiously. Yin Ting cried and said, I also don't know. At that time, I knew that I wasn't their match, so I turned around and escaped. They didn't chase after me. Fong Meng let out a breath and said softly, All right, rest for a while. Leave the rest to us. Teacher, that place is very evil. Yin Ting grabbed onto Fong Meng's hand and said softly. Fong Meng nodded her head and followed Lan Gu out of the room with Ma Ji. The three of them stood outside. Lan Gu stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the vast northern Liang land. What do you guys think? Lan Gu asked indifferently. Ma Ji cupped his hands and said, Sect leader, I feel that what Yin Ting said is true. But those 4 guards might not be real guards. What do you mean? Lan Gu asked indifferently. I guess that those 4 guards are definitely experts in disguise and are bluffing, Ma Ji said in a deep voice. This kind of deduction was indeed possible. Sect leader, what Ma Ji said is not without reason. What the other party did is to make us fear them and be cautious. Fong Meng said softly. Lan Gu let out a deep breath after hearing. Our Tianliang sect is a big sect in northern Liang. Today our disciples were killed. Heaven's disciple was even captured. If such news were spread, what would our Tianliang sect's face be? Seems like our Tianliang sect has not displayed our strength for too long. Let the world forget about our Tianliang sect's prestige. Along with Lan Gu's words, a majestic aura spread out. Fong Meng and Ma Ji shouted out respectfully, Sect leader, we are willing to fight. Let the enemy pay a painful price. Let the prestige of our Tianliang sect rise. All right, Tianliang sect has 1 million disciples. I order the 2 of you to lead 100,000 disciples each and let the world see the consequences of provoking our Tianliang sect. Yes, yes. Fong Meng and Ma Ji both accepted the order and went to make various arrangements. Meanwhile, Lan Gu returned to the summit of the mountain and looked at the horizon with his brows slightly knitted. On the national highway of Guda Principality, 100,000 soldiers were already advancing towards Wushu Empire. At the very front of the army, Feng Yun sat on a white warhorse. The warhorse's body was wrapped in silver armor, and it looked quite imposing. Together with the silver armor on Feng Yun's body, it was done in one go, and his bearing was extraordinary. Behind Feng Yun were Xia Yu and Ding Wenbo. Ding Wenbo was here to assist Feng Yun. After all, he was worried, so he sent someone to follow him. Xia Yu was the former Lingtai Kingdom's royal family, and following him was just an excuse. After all, they needed a reason to attack openly. At this moment, Feng Yun looked at his summoning time, and it was already in the countdown. Thinking about it, he was really excited. Who knew what kind of general or beauty would appear? Just thinking about it made him a little excited. He hoped that a beauty would appear first. He wanted one that could fight and warm the bed. Arrange it. As he thought about it, Feng Yun couldn't help but sway with a rhythm. Behind him, Ding Wenbo and Xia Yu were very happy and confident when they saw the 4th prince. Their hearts also calmed down a lot. They were just afraid that they would encounter an idiot, and that wouldn't be good. The further north they went, the more it started to snow. The temperature also plummeted, and the speed of the 100,000 soldiers also slowed down a lot. After all, they still had to follow them with rations. Fortunately, Feng Yun had already prepared clothes to defend against the cold. Otherwise, they would definitely have to stop, and that would waste a lot of resources. Chapter 773. He wished he could kill his way over right now, cut off everyone's heads, and hang them at the city gates as a demonstration. This was the result of provoking my Cold Sky sect. Two groups of people were attacking Wusu Empire. Looking at their speed, the people from Gouda Principality should be the first to arrive. After all, they were a lot earlier than Wusu Empire. However, Tianliang sect had battleships. 10 battleships were carrying 200,000 disciples, and they were heading towards Wusu Empire. This scale was much larger than the Duchy of Gouda. Even the disciples with the lowest level of cultivation were Doja. Right now, Yihua was currently having an affair with his sister-in-law, and recently, he fell in love with this kind of feeling. Brother-in-law, does it feel comfortable? Qing Yutong asked coquettishly as she lightly caressed onto Yihua's abs. I really love it so much that I can't bear to let go of it. I wonder if Big Sister has ever touched my abs like this before. Yihua patted onto Qing Yutong's perky, but, Yutong, your martial arts are getting more and more profound. Didn't Yutong want to make brother-in-law happy? Haha, Yutong is still the one I like the most. Yihua felt very comfortable. Being served by his sister-in-law was especially comfortable. This was something that Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were unable to achieve. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth and said, Brother-in-law, then can you let Yutong feel comfortable as well? Yihua raised Qing Yutong's beautiful face and asked curiously, how do you want to feel comfortable? Brother-in-law, you are playing with Yutong again. You know what? Qing Yutong was extremely bashful. She felt very shy. Yutong, then beg me. Brother-in-law, you are so bad. Qing Yutong thumped onto Yihua's chest with her small fists, causing Yihua to feel great. Qing Yutong is just this charming, this kind of temperament that cannot be found on Qinya and Dongwang Baiji. Yihua's finger lightly slid across Qing Yutong's red lips and asked curiously, Yutong, what if our relationship is found out by your big sister? Brother-in-law, you're done for. Yihua, brother-in-law forced himself on Yutong. Yutong couldn't resist at all. Yihua couldn't help but smack onto Yutong's perky buttocks. Yutong, you've become more daring. Brother-in-law, it hurts. You still know pain? You should reflect deeply on your actions. I will go and take a look at the children. Yihua sat up and stretched out his arms. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth and stood up. With her beautiful body exposed to the air, Qing Yutong carefully helped Yihua get dressed. Brother-in-law, it's a promise. Next time, you must make Yutong comfortable. Yihua pinched onto Qing Yutong's little face. All right, I will let you feel comfortable next time. Really? Qing Yutong was originally joking, and she didn't expect that her brother-in-law would actually agree to it. When have I ever lied to anyone? Qing Yutong, brother-in-law, is acting cool again, lying to people every day. After arriving at the children's bedroom, Yihua saw that God Yi and Yi Lu were sparring with each other every day. The two little fellows were becoming more and more powerful, and it was said that they were currently researching new martial techniques by themselves and testing them nonstop. As for Ali and Yin, they go out of the palace every day to play outside. They are really two extremes of character. However, Yihua didn't ask Ali and Yi Yin to be bitter. After all, they were still children, and it was still better for them to play around. In the future, they would naturally work hard to become stronger. Dad, when the two little fellows saw that their father had arrived, they both stopped. When there was no one around, they would call him father. When there was an outsider, they would call him father. Yihua nodded his head and stretched out both of his hands. God Yi stood at the same spot without moving, while Yi Lu threw herself into her father's embrace with a smile on her face, then lightly kissed onto her father's cheek. Luer, what kind of martial technique did you and Big Brother come up with today? Yihua hugged onto his daughter and sat in the pavilion at the side. Yi Lu laughed lightly. Dad, Big Brother, and I are still continuously pondering, and we should be able to come up with a powerful martial technique. The two of you have done well. Father rarely has to worry about you. Yihua gave a verbal praise to the two of them. This caused God, who was standing at the side, to reveal out a happy smile. To be praised by my father, that is a kind of acknowledgement, which means that I and my sister didn't put in so much effort for nothing. After hearing that, Yi Lu was also very happy. She kissed her father again, then snuggled into her father's embrace. After a period of time, the two of you will have a long-term mission. Yihua said faintly. This idea had always been lingering in his mind. On one hand, it was to train the two of them to be independent, and, on the other hand, it was to let the two of them have their own space to think. However, right now, Yihua just didn't know what Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were thinking about. Because this was a long-term mission, it might be 10 years before he could see the children. To be honest, Yihua also didn't have the heart to do that. However, my child has already grown up, and an eagle should be set free. If the eagle were to always stay by my side, it wouldn't be able to accomplish anything great. Daddy, is this for real? Godye's eyes sparkled with excitement, as if he had been longing for this for a long time. Yihua nodded. Daddy, what's the mission? Yilu asked curiously. Daddy had finally given her a mission, which meant that she had grown up. Yihua said gravely, the duration of this mission is rather long, and the two of you will have to stay outside for a very long period of time. Perhaps, when we meet again, the two of you will already be as tall as me. Hearing their father's words, the two little fellows were stunned for a moment, and then the excitement in their eyes faded away. Yilu hugged his father tightly, seemingly reluctant to let him go. Godye looked reluctant as well, walking to the side and hugging his father's arm. Looking at the reluctance of his son and daughter, Yihua let out a deep breath. You are all good children, but you will all have your own sky. As your father, I hope that you will be strong and independent. Understand? Godye and Yilu took in a deep breath, then said in unison, Daddy, we understand. We accept Daddy's mission. Yihua patted onto the little fellow's head. Daddy still has to get your mommy's approval. Otherwise, your mommy might ignore Daddy. The two little fellows didn't say anything, seemingly a bit heavy. Yihua stood up. The two of you should think about it properly. Otherwise, you can leave after a few years, properly accompany your mommy. Daddy, we understand. Yihua smiled in gratification, then walked out of the children's bedroom. Looking at their father leaving, Yilu said slowly, Brother, let's go accompany mommy. The two little fellows also realized that they had been training every day and didn't spend much time with their mother. If they were to really leave, they would be reluctant to part with their mother. Thus, while they still had some time left, they should make the best use of the time to accompany their mother. Walking in the palace, Yihua's brows slightly wrinkled. If I really let all the children leave, Qinya and Baiji would probably scold me to death. After all, Kangluo Continent wasn't a place to play around. Back then, even my main body had fallen, let alone the children. However, this was also for the sake of tempering their minds. I still have to harden my heart. Chapter 774. Long live His Majesty. The two black-armored soldiers at the door shouted respectfully. Yihua silently walked into the palace, and to his surprise, he discovered that Mu Ran was currently supporting Blue Sky Red as they walked. This surprised me a little. It seemed like Song Kong Hong had finally let go of Yihua. It was true that Song Kong Hong let go of Mu Ran, but he had no choice but to be served by Mu Ran. He couldn't hurt her, so he could only listen to her. Cough. Yihua coughed lightly. When Mu Ran saw the emperor at the door, she immediately knelt down and shouted, Long live the emperor! Get up! Thank you, your majesty. Yihua walked towards a garden at the side and sat on the pavilion in the middle. Mu Ran hurriedly poured a cup of tea for Yihua. Mu Ran had no way to deal with this temperamental emperor. After staying here for so many days, have you gotten used to living here? Yihua asked faintly while sipping a mouthful of tea. Mu Ran stood on one side, slightly bowed her head and said, I'm fine. Yihua looked towards Song Kong Hong, who was behind Mu Ran, and asked, You seem to treat this bodyguard of yours quite well. Have you taken a fancy to him? Mu Ran. This was the first time that an emperor had asked her such a question. Mu Ran was a little flustered and did not know what to say. Song Kong Hong, who was behind Mu Ran, was startled as well. Why did his honor ask Mu Ran this question? How could Mu Ran possibly like me? Seeing that Mu Ran did not speak, Yihua said in a light voice, That's true. Who would like someone who is so ugly? Sky Red's attack indicated that it had received 10,000 damage. Your Majesty, it's not like what you said. Although San Konghong's looks aren't good, he's kind-hearted. Mu Ran hurriedly said. Yi Hua sneered. There are a lot of people who have a kind heart. You are talking back to me again. Your Majesty, please forgive me. Looks like I'll have to punish this guard of yours again. Compared to punishing you, punishing him will make your heart ache more. Mu Ran was startled. She cursed herself and hurriedly lay down. Your Majesty, I spoke out of turn. Please don't punish Blue Sky Red anymore. His injuries haven't healed yet. Oh, are you saying that I can be punished just because I've recovered? Mu Ran was a bit on the verge of collapsing. Which emperor is this? All right, get up. I was just joking with you. Yi Hua said faintly. This Mu Ran, she really can't take a joke at all. She has a serious look on her face. Mu Ran let out a sigh of relief, stood up slowly, and said respectfully, Thank you, Your Majesty. At least he knew how to talk. Your Duchy of Gouda has already sent troops here. Mu Ran cried out in surprise. We'll be able to reach it by tonight. Hundreds of thousands of people. Yi Hua said faintly, not taking it to heart in the slightest. In fact, he was even a little happy. It's finally here. I, the Supreme Overlord, have already waited for a very long time. Mu Ran knelt down again. Your Majesty, it must be because I've been here for too long that the king is like this. Your Majesty, don't be rash. Also, the Heavenly Cold Sect has also sent 200,000 disciples over. They should arrive today. These words made Mu Ran's ears ring. The Cold Sky Sect had also come, and it was 200,000. How is this possible? Your Majesty, please allow me to go out of the palace and negotiate with them. If not, Mu Ran said in panic. It would be good if this matter was explained clearly. There's basically no need for us to fight each other. Before Mu Ran could finish her words, Yi Hua interrupted her. What? Do you think I'm afraid of them? Your Majesty, it's not like that. This is all a misunderstanding. As long as I explain it to them, they won't attack this place. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Childish. You think they're here for you? They're just looking for an excuse. That's right. I forgot to tell you, a few days ago, there were 2 reckless people who trespassed into Wushu Empire's airspace. One died, and the other ran away. They should be people from your Heavenly Cold Sect. Mu Ran slowly raised her head and looked towards Yi Hua, and shock could be seen in her eyes. Your Majesty, why did you want to kill them? Mu Ran, why did you have to ask such a stupid question? My door is wide open and welcomes everyone, and yet they trespassed into my airspace by flying. By letting one of them go, it should be considered as giving you face. Yi Hua said faintly. Letting one of them go is just so that she can go back and report to me, not because I'm giving you face. Mu Ran's beautiful face was at a loss. For 2 Heavenly Cold Sect disciples to come and look for me, it is very likely that they are my senior brother and senior sister. This Wushu Empire is incomparably strange. The door is wide open, and you 2 can come in. Why did you 2 have to fly? Your Majesty, was the one who died a man or a woman? Mu Ran asked in a low voice. It's a man. No wonder Heavenly Cold Sect would send out 200,000 disciples over. It must be for the sake of taking revenge. And they had already misunderstood that I was tied up here, and that's why they did this. All of this is because of me. Looking at Mu Ran's sad expression, Yi Hua asked curiously, My people killed Heavenly Cold Sect's people. Don't you want to take revenge now? I can't defeat you, Mu Ran said lightly. She was very clear of her current situation. If she were to take revenge, then everyone else would have to die. At least you have some self-awareness. There will be a huge battle tomorrow. Do you have any thoughts on it? Yi Hua asked. Your Majesty, I will be able to end this battle. Please believe me. Mu Ran, you're looking down on me too much. After finished speaking, Yi Hua stood up and left the place. The teacup on the stone table was still giving off steam. Mu Ran sat on the ground in a daze, and her gaze was lifeless. Heavenly Cold Sect and Gouda Principality both came over, and they brought along 300,000 people. And within this Wushu Empire, just how many guards are there? They have never even seen a regular army before. So how can they possibly be a match for 300,000 people? When the time comes, the ones who are going to suffer will still be the commoners. San Konghong looked at the despondent Mu Ran and wrinkled his brows. He slightly bent his body, seemingly wanting to grab onto Mu Ran's tiny wrist and pull her up. However, he hesitated, and in the end, he still stood at the side and watched. His honor did not say that this battle will end. I still have to protect her. Yihua returned to his bedroom, and he was looking forward to their arrival. Just when he walked into the bedroom, he heard the joyful voices of his wife and child, and they seemed to be talking about something interesting. Walking in, Yihua saw that it was actually God Yi and Yi Lu who were accompanying his mother. Looking at the smile on Qingya and Dongwang Baiji's face, Yihua had not seen this smile for a very long time. He remembered that back then, when Yi Yin had just been born, Qingya had such a smile on her face. However, the second child gave birth to 2 ice cubes. They spent all day brandishing their weapons and rarely played around with their mother. On the other hand, Ali and Yi Yin knew how to please their parents. Towards God Yi and Yi Lu's reaction today, the 2 mothers did not think too much about it, and they simply immersed themselves in a happy atmosphere. Daddy, when the 2 little fellows saw that their father had returned, they greeted out respectfully. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji blinked their beautiful eyes towards Yihua, seemingly saying that they were especially clingy today. Chapter 775. Where are Ali and Yin? Are they not back yet? Yihua asked curiously. I don't know where they ran off to, Qingya said tenderly while hugging on her daughter Lu. Meanwhile, Yi Lu was currently snuggling into her mother's embrace. Because father said that the next time I see mother, I might already be as tall as mother. Right at this moment, Dongwang Li brought her little brother back. Dad, Mom, Ali is back. Dongwang Li already had the appearance of a beautiful woman. In a few more years, she would probably be even more beautiful than her mother. Yin was also a handsome guy right now. He would always have a smile on his face. When he grows up, he will definitely be a war man. However, the 2 little fellows discovered that their little brother and little sister were different today. They are actually acting spoiled in their mother's embrace. Did the sun rise from the west today? The 2 of you, come over. I have something to say to the 2 of you, Yihua said towards Ali and Yi Yin. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji were a bit confused. Yihua's tone was a bit strange. Yi Lu and God Yi knew what their father wanted to say. Meanwhile, Dongwang Li and Yi Yin followed their father out with a look of confusion. The 3 walked on the gravel path outside the bedroom. Ali and the 2 of you have grown up. Dongwang Li and Yi Yin took a glance at each other. What does father mean? It is very obvious. A mission is coming. Yes. Dad, you can be at ease. We promise to complete the mission. Dongwang Li vowed. There is nothing in this world that Ali can't complete. Yihua smiled and nodded, then patted onto Yin Er's head. The mission this time is different. Dad, what's different? Yin asked curiously. Dad brought the 2 of you to watch 007 in the past, right? Dongwang Li and Yi Yin were delighted. They loved this kind of special agent mission the most. Ali, Yin the mission duration is a bit long, Yihua said gravely. Dongwang Li asked curiously, Dad, is it very long? Could it be a month? Big sister, how can it be a month? At most, it will be half a month, Yi Yin said with a smile. Yihua sighed lightly, then said slowly, if it is long, it might be 10 years. During these 10 years, the 2 of you will be wandering outside. Hearing what their father said, Dongwang Li and Yi Yin stopped their footsteps, and their tears immediately flowed out. Father, don't you want Ali and Yin anymore? Dongwang Li felt that it had been a very long time since she last cried. Yi Yin, who was at the side, was also crying bitterly. He wasn't excited at all. Yihua immediately squatted down and lightly hugged onto Ali and Yin. Ali, the 2 of you can't always live under my halo. In the past, I have already talked to the 2 of you about this. Woo, but Daddy, it's been too long. What should I do if I miss you? What should I do if I miss Mommy? Dongwang Li said, while choking with sobs. Yeah, Yin will miss it very much too. Yihua took a deep breath, then said to his son, a man's ambition is to travel far and wide. Yin you have to understand. Ali, although you are a girl, you're still my daughter. Just like Yin and the others, I hope that you all can understand. But Daddy, Ali can't bear to part with you. Dong Wang Li's tears wetted her father's imperial robe. How could Yihua be willing to do that? However, he had to steel his heart. You can also give up the mission, but your brother and sister have already agreed. Yihua decided to provoke the two of them. These two little fellows are really sticking onto their parents, and Yihua was worried that they would have bad habits in the future. Sure enough, after hearing what Yihua said, Dong Wang Li rubbed her eyes. Really? Both brother and sister have agreed? Yihua nodded his head. Daddy, Yin also agrees. Yin immediately expressed his stance. Since both brother and sister have agreed, how could he, as the big brother, possibly fall behind? There are no cowards in Yi family. Good, this is Daddy's good son, Yihua said with a smile. Dong Wang Li was still choking with sobs. Daddy is good and bad. Since Ali has completed Daddy's mission, Daddy must give her a reward. All right, whatever Ali wants, Daddy will give it to you. Yihua lightly wiped away his daughter's tears. In that case, Ali wants to stay by Daddy's side forever. Among the 4 children, Dong Wang Li was the one who liked her father the most, and also the one who cherished her father the most. After all, in the beginning, Dong Wang Li didn't have any fatherly love, and now that she did, she was very happy. Hearing what his daughter said, Yihua hugged onto Ali once again. All right, Daddy agrees. Daddy cannot lie to Ali. When have Daddy ever lied to anyone? Yihua lovingly pinched on a Dong Wang Li's cheeks. Dong Wang Li's baby fat cheeks had long disappeared, and right now, Dong Wang Li's face had already turned into a small, oval face. All right, let's go back and accompany your mother more. Ian nodded his head. Daddy, does Mommy know about this matter? Daddy hasn't told Mommy about this matter yet. I will tell Mommy about it tonight. Yihua was also planning to let the children accompany their mother, and then set off 1 month later. Dong Wang Li said worriedly, Daddy, you have to tell Mommy about it then. If not, Mommy will definitely not allow you to go. And Daddy knows. Yihua let out a light breath. Qinya and Dong Wang Baiji will definitely quarrel with me. What a headache. Dong Wang Baiji brought the 2 little fellows into the bedroom, and when Dong Wang Baiji saw that her daughter's eyes were red, she asked, Ali, why are you crying? Mommy, Ali pounced on a Dong Wang Baiji's embrace, while Yin pounced on a Qinya's embrace. The 2 goddess-like women who were hugging onto their son and daughter discovered that something was wrong. Yihua stood at the side and remained silent, not knowing what to say. The night gradually descended, and with the information provided by White Bones, Yihua knew that the enemy army was still 20 miles away from Voidless Empire, and they had already set up camp and were resting. They would probably attack tomorrow morning. On the other side, the Tianliang sect was ready to go. After listening to Yihua's words, Yihua started pondering. This is my first battle after coming to Kangluo continent. I have to do it beautifully. They had waited for several months for this battle. Their numbers had to come up. At the very least, after this battle, the total population would reach 50%. As for how to fight tomorrow, to be honest, I haven't thought about it yet. It was a one-sided victory. It was still a semi-one-sided victory. Or should it be like before, giving a little hope and then a little despair? I've already played this trick before. I have to think of something more interesting. Only then will I be able to display my majesty. Yihua, who was lying on the soft bed, was pondering. Right now, both Qinya and Dong Wang Baiji had already taken a bath, and they were currently wearing light pajamas as they walked over. Both of them were calmly leaning against their husbands' sides. As for Yihua, he naturally hugged his wives. Yihua, I feel that there is something wrong with the children today, Dong Wang Baiji said in a low voice. Chapter 776. Listening to the conversation between the 2 women in his embrace, Yihua felt that there was a need to talk to them, because I plan to send them out. Yihua said faintly. Qinya and Dong Wang Baiji clearly did not understand what Yihua meant. Give it away? Where are we going? Qinya asked puzzledly. Yihua lightly caressed on a Qinya's cheek, a very far-away place. Dong Wang Baiji immediately sat up and asked sternly, Yihua, what is the meaning of this? In the past, I have also told you all that my child is different from others. From a young age, he has to learn to be independent. Now, it is about time for him to do so. Hearing what Yihua said, the two wives looked at their husbands blankly. You want the children to leave us? Qingya's tone became a bit cold, to the point where it seemed like she was about to quarrel with Qingya. Don't even think about it. Dongwang Baiji was even more straightforward. Ali is only 8 years old, and my son, Gadyi, is only 5 years old. How is it possible for such a young child to walk in this kind of world? What if something happened? How could there be such a cruel father? Yihua had long known that the two of them would have this kind of emotion. Which mother would be willing to part with their child? Thus, Yihua didn't blame them. They have all agreed to accompany you for a month, and then they will set off. Yihua said gravely, in actuality, I am also reluctant to do this, but for the sake of the children's future, I must do this. Qingya said coldly. No wonder Gadyi and Yi Lu seem to have become completely different people today. Dongwang Baiji even shook Yihua and said with a choking tone, You heartless person, where are you going to send my daughter and son? Yihua paused for a moment. In actuality, he had long thought of what to do. In the south, there are a few very formidable powers, and they're my old rivals in the past. I am preparing to let them sneak into the south to train. After I clean up all of the powers in the north, I will prepare to take action. Qingya looked at her husband blankly and shouted out, Yehua, you actually used your own child to take revenge. Are you even human? You too. Am I taking advantage of the children? I am giving them a better space to develop. If they stay by our side, what can they develop? What if the child becomes an ignorant and incompetent person in the future? Yihua shouted out gravely. How can I, the Supreme Overlord, possibly use a child to take revenge? How long are you going to take my child out of here? Yihua, let me tell you, 1 month at most. If not, I will hate you. Dongwang Baiji cried for real. Yihua said gravely, if it's fast, it would be around 10 years. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji were stupefied, then shouted out in unison, Yihua, I'm telling you, unless we die, don't even think about taking them away. After finished speaking, Qingya and Dongwang Baiji got off the bed and left. Looking at their actions, they were definitely going to look for the children. This was too much. When Yihua saw his wives walking out angrily, he didn't step forward to explain anything. After all, this was within his expectations. Lightly rubbing onto his forehead, Yihua felt a bit annoyed. If I insist on letting the children leave, I reckon that the children will not give me a good look for the next 10 years. Forget it. I'll just coax him a little when the time comes. This child will definitely be a little uncomfortable when he leaves his parents' side. Wasn't it the same for the main body? Sigh, I should just have a good sleep. There are still important things that I have to do tomorrow. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji directly went to the children's bedroom. After that, the two mothers hugged onto their children and bawled loudly. The little fellows had all fallen asleep, and the mothers didn't say anything and just hugged onto their children and bawled loudly. This is so strange. Holding onto the children's hands, Qingya said with her beautiful eyes that were red and swollen, Yen'er, come with mother. That heartless father of yours is going to send the two of you to a faraway place, and he won't allow us to see each other anymore. Ali, let's go back together. Don't bother about that heartless father anymore. Dongwang Baiji said with pain in her heart. Yihua actually had such a terrifying idea. Dongwang Li wiped off her mother's tears and said lightly, Mother, we have already promised father. Yian lightly hugged onto his mother. Mother, actually we have been waiting for this day for a very long time. Hearing what the children said, the two mothers were stupefied. Yi Lu held onto her mother's hand and said lightly, Mother, we are the children of the Supreme Overlord. We cannot compare ourselves with other children. We have to work hard 100 times, 10,000 times. Only then will we be able to bring honor to Father. This time, Father has given us a chance. Big brother and big sister are very happy, just that we are very reluctant to part with father and mother. Although God, you didn't say anything, he lightly snuggled into his mother's embrace. In the next 10 years, he might not be able to hug his mother anymore. After Qinya and Dongwang Baiji heard what Yi Hua said, they were certain that Yi Hua had brainwashed the children. For the entire night, Dongwang Baiji had been persuading the children not to go, and in the end, the children were all unwilling to go. This caused Qinya and Dongwang Baiji to become even angrier. I don't know how Yi Hua managed to make the children so unswervingly loyal to him. On this night, the two mothers accompanied the children to sleep, while Yi Hua was thinking about how he should deal with the matter that was in front of him. In actuality, there were still two people who didn't sleep, and they were Mu Ran and Song Konghong. Mu Ran sat in the pavilion outside and looked at the full moon in the night sky while pondering about a problem. Meanwhile, Song Konghong stood at the side and carefully protected Mu Ran. After all, his honor's order cannot be forgotten. Mu Ran knew that Song Konghong was standing right beside her. Although Mu Ran didn't say anything, Mu Ran was still surrounded by a sense of security. As long as Song Konghong was by her side, Mu Ran wouldn't be afraid of anything. The night gradually faded, and the sky gradually turned bright. Today was the day that Wushu Empire would become famous. Commoners were already appearing on the streets one after another. However, they discovered that the city gate was actually not open today, and there were even rows of guards standing below the city wall, seemingly waiting for something. Everyone was curious. What was going to happen? The number of guards on the city wall had doubled compared to before. Furthermore, some of the patrolling guards were asking all of the commoners to go back to their houses. Could it be that a war is going to start? Right now, all of the commoners were starting to worry. If Wushu Empire loses, then the beautiful life that we have right now would be destroyed once again. I hope that Wushu Empire doesn't lose. Right now, Wushu Empire had finished all of their preparations, and right now, all that was left was to wait for the enemy to come. Right now, Yi Hua was wearing a yellow gown. Forget about the crown. Yi Hua feels that it doesn't look good on me. I might as well put on some hair wax. However, Yi Hua didn't summon his subordinates like how he usually did. There is no need to make such a big deal out of a small matter like this. Low-key, Yi Hua didn't go and look for his subordinates, and instead went to look for Mu Ran. His meaning was very clear. He wanted Mu Ran to follow him to take a look. Upon hearing that, Mu Ran became joyous. I think that the Emperor wants me to go and explain things to the Emperor. Is Yi Hua like this? Chapter 777. As a bodyguard, Song Konghong naturally followed behind Mu Ran. Mu Ran did not stop Song Konghong from following, as though he was used to Song Konghong standing guard. The three of them walked onto the royal road and headed towards the city wall. Climbing a flight of stairs that was more than 100 zhang high, a table had already been set up, and breakfast was placed on it. Speaking of breakfast, ever since Qinya and Dongwang Baiji went out last night, they had yet to return. I reckon that they must be very angry. He had originally wanted to bring them up to show off, but it seemed like that was not going to happen. My Emperor, today it was the Blood Race sisters, Serena and Serena. This had been decided a long time ago. They were considered new faces, so it was easier for them to show up. Yi Hua took a look at the two sisters who looked exactly the same as him and felt that LV Tao, that fellow, is lucky. I heard that he had been cuckolded in the past, but I didn't expect that after being cuckolded, he would still have such luck. Looking at this pair of twins, every detail was exactly the same. It was really hard to tell who was the older sister and who was the younger sister. Today, they even wore a sexy red maid outfit. Interesting. Actually, LV Liang was often confused as well. Even though they had been together for so long, her younger sister, Serena, was much more mischievous. However, as long as she put on an act, she would be exactly the same as her older sister. She would often get one wrong, but it was precisely this feeling that made her feel good. You guys will never understand how great it is to be the subordinate of a supreme being. Not only is this boss valiant, he also knows how to find wives for his subordinates. Where else can you find such a good boss? There isn't one in this entire world. Yi Hua slowly sat on the chair. Serena respectfully poured fine wine for Yi Hua, and her big sister Serena was at the side arranging the tableware. Mu Ran stood at the side, looking at the endless snow. "Reporting to my emperor. We'll be there in an hour." Whitebone's voice suddenly resounded in the air. This gave Mu Ran a fright. She didn't know where this person was talking to. Just how many powerful subordinates did the emperor have? Got it. This subordinate will take his leave. Yihua looked at the delicacies in front of him. All of them were made by the blood demon. Right now, these delicacies are becoming more and more in line with my taste. Especially this jianbing fruit. The taste is exactly the same as the jianbing fruit, and the jianbing fruit has a bit of warmth to it. This blood demon sure knows how to make me happy. Mu Ran, sit. Yihua said faintly. I wouldn't dare. If I tell you to sit, then sit. Do you really have to make this empress unhappy? Yihua said in a low voice. The matters at home are already vexing enough, and today, I finally have a chance to change my mood. Mu Ran muttered in her heart as she slowly sat down beside him. Eat, Yihua said indifferently, then picked up a pancake that had eggs and ham added on. He took a big bite. How fragrant! Mu Ran also picked one up and handed it to Blue Sky Red. Yihua and the Blood Tribe sisters naturally saw this action of hers. TSK, TSK, TSK. It seemed that Mu Ran had taken it to heart. However, Song Kong Hong was still in a daze. He was so stupid that he could die. Mu Ran lightly took a bite and felt that this strange food was indeed delicious. I really want to ask how this food is made, and in the future, I can also make it for her. Thinking of this, Mu Ran shook her head. How could she think like this? Mu Ran, when they come later on, what are you going to do? Yihua finished off Mu Ran in 1 or 2 moves, then leaned on the throne and asked casually. Mu Ran paused and said, Your Majesty, please believe in Mu Ran. All right, this empress will believe you this once. But what if they insisted on attacking? You think you can stop an army of 300,000? Or is it safer for me to keep you here? Mu Ran remained silent after hearing what the emperor said. What the emperor said is right. If I am here, they might not make a move, but if I'm outside, they will be able to make a move without any restraints. Yihua looked at Mu Ran and seemed to be a bit silent, then said faintly, I am naturally not afraid of them. It is fine for me to keep all of them here today. I want their blood to dye this snowfield red. What a magnificent scene that would be. After hearing what the emperor said, Mu Ran felt that the emperor was bragging. 300,000 people. How can you possibly stop them? Your Majesty, just let Mu Ran give it a try. Mu Ran will use my life as a guarantee. Yihua laughed. Mu Ran, are you saying that if I fail, your life will belong to me? That's right. Mu Ran will definitely be able to persuade them to retreat. All right, I will believe you this once, but Mu Ran, let me tell you this. If you fail, then don't blame me for being ruthless. These 300,000 people cannot be returned. Yihua said coldly, and a surge of killing intent immediately erupted out from his body. Mu Ran said respectfully, Mu Ran understands. Just that. Mu Ran didn't take Yihua's last few sentences to heart. I thought that it was the emperor's joke, and I can only rely on myself to convince them. Suddenly, black dots appeared on the snowfield that stretched as far as the eye could see. Looking at these black dots, Yihua was a bit excited. They are finally here. That's right, the people who are coming are from Gouda Principality. The 4th prince, Feng Yun, was riding his horse at the front, and his expression was a bit astonished. Not only Feng Yun, Ding Wenba, and Xiaoyu who were at the side were the same as well. There were even a lot of soldiers who were rubbing their eyes, as if they were looking at a mirage. This is Lingtai Kingdom? Xiaoyu said in disbelief. In my memory, Lingtai Kingdom's walls were made of wood, but looking at the walls right now, the walls are dazzling with gold and jade. The walls are 300 meters tall, and the imposing aura it gives off makes people feel intimidated. This is simply even more majestic than Gouda Principality. If I were to take over Lingtai Kingdom and become the king of Lingtai Kingdom, how awesome would that be? Xiaoyu, is this really Lingtai Kingdom? Feng Yun mumbled, not daring to believe what he saw. Replying to General, this is indeed Lingtai Kingdom. Xiaoyu said respectfully from behind. Unbelievable. Ding Bowen muttered with a face filled with astonishment. After the astonishment, Feng Yun revealed a light smile. I was just worrying about not having a good city. After I take over Lingtai Kingdom, I will be able to use the city for myself. As for this Xiaoyu, after making use of him, I will be able to leave with a peace of mind. Dying on a battlefield, this idea isn't bad. Very quickly, the 100,000-strong army entered into the shooting range of the bow and arrow and stopped. Yi Hua waved his hand, and an old man picked up an ordinary bow and arrow, then pulled the bow and shot the arrow in one go. Everyone looked at the bow and arrow drawing a beautiful arc in the air. After that, the arrow landed 3 meters away from Feng Yun's horse. Feng Yun immediately burst into laughter. His laughter caused everyone behind him to burst into laughter as well. Amidst the laughter, a row of white armored soldiers shouted towards the sky. Those who cross the line die. Right after Feng Yun finished speaking, the drummers at the back started beating the drums. Dong, dong, dong. The drumming sounds were earth-shattering, seemingly piercing through the entire world, causing everyone to be excited. Even the commoners in the city wanted to rush out and fight on the battlefield when they heard the drumming sounds. Of course, this was bad news for the enemy. Their laughter was drowned out by the drumming sounds, and when the enemy heard the drumming sounds, their morale immediately dropped by a lot. Chapter 778. Just as Feng Yun was scolding himself for not bringing a band with him, a black sound suddenly rang out. The sound was so loud that it actually overpowered the sound of the drums. Yi Hua stood up with a smile on his face. Battleship, this is a bit interesting. I haven't seen this thing for a long time. I really miss it a bit. Mu Ran, who was at the side, also looked towards the sky with a taut face. The people from Tianyang sect are here. Feng Yun raised his head and stared at the dark sky, his brows slightly wrinkled. This seems to be the sound of the battleship's horn. General, this should be the people from Tianliang's sect. Ding Wenba, who was at the back, reminded softly. Feng Yun really didn't expect that the people from Tianliang's sect would also want to get share of the loot. Right now, I am still relatively weak. I cannot let Wuyang's sect discover anything. But to Xiaoyu, the more people the better. This way, it will be more stable. Suddenly, 10 enormous battleships surged down from the clouds. As if they had broken through the clouds, they brought along traces of clouds and mist. This kind of scene was very spectacular. It was very ostentatious. The 10 battleships were arranged neatly, just like an enormous tortoise shell in the sky. The flag of Wuyang sect was hung on the poles, and there seemed to be a lot of people standing on the deck. They were densely packed. At the start, these people were very excited, but after seeing the scene, they became astonished. From the sky, one could have a good view of Wushu Empire. The first feeling, the second feeling, the second feeling, the big, the third feeling, the long. Is this Wushu Empire? Is this still an empire? This is simply even grander than my Tianliang sect. Looking at this dazzling city and that towering palace, this is undoubtedly showing off my heroism. Especially that city wall. It is so tall when people stand below it, they're just like ants. Ma Ji and Fang Meiying, who were leading the group, were a bit astonished. Hearing Yun Ting say it was one thing, but seeing it for themselves was another thing. At the start, they even felt that Yun Ting was exaggerating a bit. But looking at it now, they realized that Yun Ting was not exaggerating at all. Furthermore, Yun Ting even said it tactfully, fearing that he would hurt Tianliang's sect's morale. Elder Fang, this Wushu Empire is not ordinary. Ma Ji lightly stroked his beard and said faintly while staring at the man who was wearing an emperor robe on the city wall. Fang Ming nodded silently. Elder Ma, we should be more cautious. Mu Ran is still in their hands. Yes, but it's a good thing that the Duchy of Gouda is here. Ma Ji smirked. Those people could be used as cannon fodder. Fang Ming knew what Ma Ji meant, so she silently agreed. If it was really a trap, the ones who would die would be those ordinary people. Her own sect's disciples wouldn't have to die. Come down. Fang Ming said indifferently. She did not choose to enter through the air because she had a bad premonition. If they attacked from the sky, they would be too densely packed. As long as they destroyed 10 of the battle arcs, they would be finished. Yihua looked at the battleship that was slowly descending, and a dense mass of people walked down from the battleship. The number of people walking down from the battleship was double that of the people in Gouda Principality. Looking at the battleship from the top of the city wall, the scene was indeed a bit spectacular. "Do you recognize all of these people?" Yihua asked curiously. Muran nodded and said, "I know them all. Introduce them to me." Muran exhaled deeply. "The general of Gouda Principality is 4th Prince Fengyun. Fengyun, what do you think of this person?" Fengyun is the most outstanding among the princes, and the king also has the intention to give the position of crown prince to Fengyun. Muran said respectfully, "I understand now. This Fengyun wants to come back and become the crown prince. His idea is not bad, just that he doesn't use his brain." Yihua lightly leaned on the city wall and looked at Muran with a playful expression. Muran remained silent. This emperor is so smart, he guessed it so quickly. "What about the people from Tianliang's sect?" Muran said gravely. "The people from Tianliang's sect are my teacher, Feng Ming and Ma Ji, Elder Ma. Since your teacher is here, you have to persuade them. If not, your teacher is going to fall here today. I am not joking with you." Yihua said indifferently while looking down at the army that was not far away. With 300,000 people lined up, the scene is truly grand. However, it is useless to have so many people. I can deal with them with just a snap of my fingers. However, that is too easy for you all. Without any fluctuations in your hearts, how can you all display despair and fear? Hearing what Yihua said, Muran was a little unconvinced and said lightly, "My teacher is a rank 1 Do Huang, and Elder Ma is also at the peak of the King realm. He is also just a step away from becoming a Do Huang. All right, stop explaining. In my eyes, they're all the same salted fish." Yihua said indifferently. Muran pursed her lips. "This is the most boastful emperor that I have ever seen." On the other side, Fengyun jumped down from his horse and obediently came to the front of Tianliang's sect's army. "I am Gouda Principality's 4th Prince Fengyun. Greetings to the 2 seniors." After Fengyun finished speaking, he cupped his hands. He was very low-key and did not have the airs of a prince at all. However, in his heart, he secretly swore, "I will return this scene to you all sooner or later. I, Fengyun, am a transmigrator with a system. The heavens have destined that I will become popular in the entire Kangluo continent." Ma Ji took a look at Fengyun, then ignored him. On the other hand, Feng Ming nodded her head towards Fengyun. "Gouda Principality sure is considerate." Of course, of course." Fengyun lowered his head and replied while cursing in his heart. Afterward, Fengyun felt awkward. The other party seemed to have stopped talking, and I have been lowering my head like this. It seems like I am a joke. Furthermore, I am doing this in front of 300,000 soldiers. I have truly lost all my face. Elder Ma, could it be that this is a trap? As a woman, Feng Ming was rather vigilant. Ma Ji didn't act impulsively and said to Fengyun, "Go and get someone to pass the message." Fengyun didn't dare to say anything and directly obeyed the order. In his heart, he wished that he could get rid of these 2 fellows. After returning to his own camp, Fengyun immediately called Xiaoyu. "General, what's the matter?" Xiaoyu shouted out respectfully. "It's nothing big. I just want you to go and pass the message." Fengyun said faintly, and his expression wasn't very good. "Ah," Xiaoyu cried out in surprise. "Isn't this a big matter? This is equivalent to sending someone to die." Fengyun's gaze turned cold. "What? Are you thinking of disobeying a military order?" "I don't dare." Xiaoyu hurriedly lowered his head and replied. Disobeying a military order would result in death, but passing the message might not result in death. This 4th prince is trying to get someone else to do his dirty work. If it's so vicious. Xiaoyu didn't have any other choice and asked, "4th prince, what do I want to ask?" "Just have them hand over Muran." "All right." Xiaoyu rode on his horse and looked at the city wall in front of him. He had a strange feeling that he was going to die soon. Also, that arrow, just now it said that those who pass the arrow will die. I wonder if that is true or not. Chapter 779. Right now, Xiaoyu was trembling with fear. If tens of thousands of arrows were to shoot at him, he would definitely be turned into a hornet's nest. Just thinking about it made his scalp numb. Yihua looked at Xiaoyu, who walked out from the army. Who is this person? He is the former royal family of Lingtai country. Muran said lightly. Those who didn't know would have thought that the two of them were together. They were actually chatting casually. Yihua understood. So that's the case. Interesting. Yihua waved his hand towards Serena, who was behind him. The latter ignored him and immediately started making arrangements. Xiaoyu rode his horse and arrived at the center of the city. The cold wind caused his arms to become stiff. He could only look up at the 300 tall city wall. Just as Xiaoyu was panicking, the war drums suddenly sounded out again. The war drums this time were different from before. The war drums brought along a very impassioned mood. Flags could be seen being erected on the city wall. Along with the cold wind, an enormous pressure immediately swept over. How could the war horse that Xiaoyu was riding on endure such an imposing aura? It immediately became very agitated. Xiaoyu accidentally fell off the war horse and landed on the snowy ground. He was in a sorry state, and the war horse immediately ran away. Seeing this scene, Yihua revealed a smile of disdain. Truly a little weak, unable to be brought onto the stage. Xiaoyu, who landed on the snowy ground, was very embarrassed. His originally pale face had now become red. Right now, I can only walk up. With heavy footsteps, Xiaoyu gradually walked to the city gate and discovered a problem. Even if I shout till my throat breaks, the people on the city gate won't be able to hear me. Just as Xiaoyu was thinking of a way, the huge city gate actually slowly opened. This caused Xiaoyu to unconsciously take a step back. The battle is imminent, and they actually opened the city gate. What is the meaning of this? Right now, Ma Ji and Feng Ming were also very puzzled. They didn't understand the other party's intention. This is too careless, isn't it? Everyone looked at the city gate, seemingly wanting to see who would appear. However, everyone was about to be disappointed. The person that appeared was not a human. It was a husky. Sending out a dog. Is this a mockery from Wushu Empire? The 300,000 troops were burning with rage. This is a blatant mockery. To send out a dog to negotiate, this is too much. Muran also saw that Yunlang had walked out. She was puzzled. Yunlang was looking down on the emperor. Why would the emperor do this? This would infuriate the other party. Even if she wanted to reconcile later, it would be impossible. Letting a dog out, His Majesty. Muran couldn't help but ask curiously. Yihua took a look at Muran, then said faintly, "This is already thinking very highly of them." Muran did not speak. She was thinking about what she was going to say later. Below, Seiyu saw a dog walking towards him. That silver fur, those strange eyes, seemed to be revealing something. He couldn't move at all. What kind of dog was this? How could it have such an ability? Yunlang circled around Xiaoyu and sniffed the air out of conditioned reflex. After that, he discovered that, why did I have to sniff the air? I'm not a real dog. I'm a fake dog. Seems like I've gotten used to being a dog recently, and all of my actions are subconscious. Yunlang gave Xiaoyu a disdainful gaze and slightly raised his head. This was the contempt of a king. Suppressing the panic in his heart, Xiaoyu yelled, "Let Muran go. I'll spare your lives." Yihua was naturally able to hear Muran's words and said with a smile, "This person's tone is rather big. What do you think, Muran?" Muran did not speak. She felt that she wasn't a hostage at all, but rather an accomplice. Yunlang shook his head. "Seems like you can't do it. Change to another one." In order to achieve fairness, Yunlang took small steps and walked towards the 300,000-strong army, and his gaze emitted out a different kind of coldness. Death gaze. Xiaoyu hurriedly turned around and ran. His words had also arrived. At this moment, the scene became strange. Yunlang walked over with his head held high and chest puffed out, while Xiaoyu was panicking and would even fall down from time to time. This made the 300,000-strong army blush with shame, and they wished that they could kill this fellow who lost his imposing manner. Look at other people's dogs. Shouldn't you learn from their footwork? Just like that, I lost the first round. Humans can't be compared to dogs. Not long later, Yun Lang arrived in front of the 300,000-strong army, and as if he was inspecting his own army, it made everyone want to eat dog meat. After all, in this freezing weather, having a plate of dog meat should be very refreshing. This dog is a little strange, Ma Ji said gravely. Fong Mei also felt it, although she couldn't put her finger on it, but this dog was definitely not an ordinary dog. Yin Lang could be seen stopping in front of Fong Mei. Then turning around, he raised his leg and gestured, seemingly wanting Fong Mei to follow him. Don't go, Ma Ji said in a low voice. Fong Mei paused for a moment. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Towards this kind of dog, Fong Mei was also very puzzled, but she didn't take action to kill it. If she took action just now, the situation should be even more joyous. If that was the case, Yin Lang would be able to have a full meal. Yin Lang walked at the front, and Fong Mei followed behind unhurriedly. Fong Mei appeared to be very confident. After all, she was the strongest out of everyone. Rank 1 Do Huang. Yin Lang directly brought Fong Mei into the city, and soon after, the city gate closed. The 300,000-strong army was filled with admiration in their hearts. As expected of an elder of Tianliang's sect, just this kind of spirit, who can have it? Charging into a tiger's den alone. Awesome. When Mu Ran, who was on the city gate tower, saw that her master had entered, she became very excited, not knowing what the emperor was doing. Yihua asked indifferently, You're going to meet with master soon? Are you very happy? Your Majesty, just what are you trying to do? Mu Ran completely didn't know, but at the same time, she really wanted to know. Yihua didn't speak and lightly leaned on the city wall, waiting for Fong Mei to come up. Fong Mei, who was following behind Yun Lang, was also very puzzled. This dog seems to be bringing me to meet the emperor. Could it be that he isn't afraid that I will directly kill the emperor? Or could it be that he isn't afraid at all? Should I make a move and kill the emperor later on? I have to think about it now. The city gate tower that was 300 meters tall wasn't that easy to climb. After quite a while, Yin Lang brought Fong Mei to the top of the city wall. Then, Yin Lang squatted at the side and guarded. Teacher, Mu Ran shouted out excitedly and immediately pounced into Fong Mei's embrace. Yihua looked at Mu Ran and did not stop Mu Ran. After all, the reason why he called Mu Ran up to Fong Mei was because he wanted to see the relationship between the two of them. Ranner, are you all right? Fong Mei asked concernedly as she stroked onto Mu Ran's hair. Mu Ran nodded her head. Master, I am very good. The emperor treats me very well too. Speaking of the emperor, Fong Mei raised her head and looked towards Yihua. The impression that this person gives me is a bit frivolous. As an emperor, he is actually slightly leaning on the wall, and he doesn't have any poise at all. Other than that kind of handsome face of his, he is still somewhat useful. Also, the two women that are at the side, their attire is so revealing. With just a look, they are definitely not good people. Chapter 780. Should he just kill him now? No. He was an elder of the Wuliang sect. If he were to kill him in this situation, he would definitely be laughed at. After all, the emperor had invited him here, and if he were to kill him, it would be very shameful. After all, the other party looked very weak. Fong Mei stood in front of Mu Ran and looked at Yihua vigilantly. Yihua said faintly, Don't be nervous. I won't harm you. Fong Mei was speechless. I'm considering whether or not I should hurt you. But you said you wouldn't hurt me. Where did your confidence come from? Teacher, nothing will happen. Mu Ran said. Mu Ran seemed to have a lot of trust in Yihua. When Fong Mei heard Ran's words, she immediately felt that something was wrong. Why was Ran speaking up for the other party? Was he under some kind of spell? Fong Mei quickly held Mu Ran's hand and checked her physical condition. Yihua did not stop them and waited quietly. Master, I'm fine. I'm fine, Mu Ran whispered. Fong Mei was very confused. Was actually fine, but this was too abnormal. I rather admire this disciple of yours. Yihua said faintly. What do you want? Fong Meiying asked coldly. Yihua laughed lightly. You all brought people to my territory, and you all are asking me what I want to do? There's something wrong with your logic. Of course I'm here to look for my disciple, Fong Meiying said in a deep voice. Is that so? Then, does this emperor understand that once we bring the hostage away, you all will retreat? Yihua asked faintly. Fong Meiying frowned slightly and did not reply. At this time, Mu Ran hurriedly advised, Master, the emperor has already promised to let me go. Don't attack. That's right. Mu Ran is right. After all, these are 300,000 lives. Although it looks good to dye the snow red, it's too cruel. Mu Ran was speechless and hurriedly explained, Master, His Majesty didn't mean that. Her disciple had repeatedly interceded with the emperor, causing Fong Meiying to be in a bad mood. The most urgent thing to do now was to take Ran Air away. I'm taking him away. If you want to stop me, then come and try, Fong Meiying said coldly and grabbed Mu Ran's hand. Sure. Yihua didn't plan to force Mu Ran to stay. Follow Master. Teacher, wait a moment. Mu Ran hurriedly said to Yihua, Your Majesty, my... Yihua knew what Mu Ran wanted to say. Don't worry, I won't go so far as to make things difficult for ordinary people. Mu Ran nodded, looked at San Kong Hong behind her, and reached out to hold her hand. This action made Fong Meiying's face sink. This strong man was wearing an iron mask. What was his relationship with Mu Ran? Thousands of curses floated out from San Kong Hong's heart. This Mu Ran actually grabbed my hand in front of so many people. He really wanted to shake it off. But his honor has given me an order. I can't shake him off. Master, he saved me twice, Mu Ran explained. Fong Meiying glanced at San Kong Hong and flew back to her camp with the two of them. Looking at the three people leaving, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. When the 300,000 soldiers saw that Elder Fong had brought them out, they immediately cheered in victory. Elder Fong was truly amazing. This was the first time he had seen someone being taken away by the emperor. This emperor is definitely afraid and doesn't dare to offend the mighty Tianliang sect. When Feng Yin saw that Mu Ran was brought back, he slightly wrinkled his brows, seemingly not very happy. Why did the other party let Mu Ran go so easily? Could it be that the other party is really afraid of Wuliang's sect? This is not a good thing. Tianliang's sect brought so many people over. How could they possibly leave so easily? Could it be that Tianliang's sect wants to take this city for themselves as well? Feng Yun's guess was indeed correct. Before Tianliang's sect came over, Tianliang's sect didn't have any thoughts of taking over the city. They only wanted to exterminate the city. However, right now, Tianliang's sect wants to take over the city as well. After all, this Wushu Empire is truly magnificent. If Tianliang's sect were to move over to Wushu Empire, it would also be something that would gain face for Wushu Empire. After returning to the camp, Mu Ran shouted out respectfully towards Ma Ji, Elder Ma. Ma Ji smiled slightly. Mu Ran, it's good that you are fine. Mu Ran feels guilty for making Master and Elder Ma worried. Ma Ji smiled, then began discussing something with Fong Meiying. Meanwhile, Mu Ran was very puzzled. Didn't Master say that we are leaving? Master, what are you doing? Aren't we going back? Mu Ran asked confusedly. Fong Meiying looked at her disciple and said gravely, Mu Ran, do you know how your senior brother died? Mu Ran nodded her head and said in a low voice, Mu Ran heard about it. Senior brother trespassed into Wushu Empire's airspace and was killed. However, senior sister is fine. Hearing what Mu Ran said, Fong Meiying and Ma Ji were a bit stupefied. Are you blaming your senior brother for trespassing into someone else's territory? Mu Ran, do you know what you are saying? Fong Meiying reprimanded coldly. Mu Ran also knew that what she said just now was wrong, and felt that she was speaking up for Wushu Empire. Master, I didn't mean it like that, but if we were to fight today, someone would definitely die. Mu Ran doesn't want. Before Mu Ran could finish speaking, Ma Ji said gravely, Mu Ran, today, we are not only here to save you. We are also here to redeem Tianliang's sex dignity. But master, just now you already agreed. Shut up. Are you their people or mine? Fong Meiying shouted out, and she even wanted to slap Mu Ran. Ma Ji said faintly, Mu Ran, in such a small place, do you think that someone would die? In just a few minutes, we would trample over this place. Master. But just now, you clearly promised the emperor that you would. Slap. Fong Meiying still couldn't help but slap Mu Ran. Song Kong Hong, who was standing at the side, moved slightly, but in the end, she still stopped and didn't make a move. I am here to protect Mu Ran. Meanwhile, Mu Ran held onto her face and looked at Master in disbelief. This is the first time that Master has slapped me. Mu Ran, look at your position clearly before talking to Master. Fong Meiying shouted out. Mu Ran became silent. I finally know why that emperor said that. What he said is right. Even if I come out, they still wouldn't leave, because I am just an excuse for them to mobilize their troops. Yihua, who was standing on the city wall, saw everything. Lil Mu Ran, you are really pitiful. You got slapped by Master, right? You really don't know how to look at the situation. I still need to learn more. Seeing that it was about time, Yihua slowly walked down the stairs. Within the army, Feng Yin stood respectfully in front of Fong Meiying and Ma Ji. In his heart, Feng Yin was scolding Fong Meiying for being so shameless to actually want to let our own people become cannon fodder. But right now, other than agreeing to it, I don't have any other choice. Mu Ran, who was standing at the side, didn't have any other choice. This magnificent Wushu Empire is going to be occupied. I can't let them retreat and deceive the emperor. If I'm still in his hands, it might be a bit better. Chapter 781. General, are we going to be cannon fodder? Ding Wenba asked at the side. Feng Yun's expression was gloomy. If I wait until I become stronger, the first one I will destroy will be Tianliang's sect. Go and arrange for the siege. Feng Yun said gravely. Right at this moment, Feng Yun heard a cry of surprise coming from outside and immediately walked out of the tent. Wushu Empire's gate could be seen opening once again. This time, someone came out. 2 rows of white-armored warriors walked out of the city gate in an orderly manner, forming a long line. Suddenly, a golden carpet was laid out from the city, and it just so happened to be in the middle of the white-armored warriors, giving off the feeling of a nouveau riche. 300,000 people are just quietly watching. What is the meaning of this? The 2 rows of white-armored warriors suddenly stopped their footsteps and stood facing each other. They instantly raised the flag of Wushu Empire and crossed it together. And in the city, 3 figures appeared. Yihua stepped on the golden carpet, and the Blood Race sisters followed behind him. The 3 slowly walked out. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. This emperor sure knows how to act cool. And there are 300,000 spectators watching him act cool. Right now, Yu was feeling very good. Although there wasn't any big scene, this kind of low-profile acting cool still felt very good. After walking to the end of the golden carpet, Yi Hua stopped his footsteps. At this moment, the sunlight in the sky suddenly shifted and actually shone on Yi Hua's body, causing the emperor's gown to shine brightly, looking very dazzling. This added a different kind of acting cool. 300,000 people looked at this emperor, and their minds were all stupefied. This is really the first time, Yi Hua, who was standing below the flag, said to the 300,000 people, Heavens! If you all retreat, I will let bygones be bygones, but if you all continue to persist in going about things the wrong way, this snowy land will be the best place for you all to return to. I never lie. Everyone immediately became silent. You're King bragging, right? We haven't even seen the regular army, and you still dare to say that you're going to destroy us. This emperor not only knows how to act cool, he also knows how to brag. Later on, I will let you see what is called awesome. Yi Hua turned around and walked into the city with a smile of disdain on the corner of his mouth. Actually, I can choose not to come out, but I like to be benevolent, so I will still give them a way out. As for their choice, it is unknown. Yuhua didn't continue going up the city gate and returned to the palace. I will leave this place to the Blood Race sisters. It is more than enough. After all, in this kind of small situation, the Supreme Overlord had already given a lot of face by coming forward to say a few words. When the 300,000 people realized that the Emperor did not go up to the tower to observe, they all laughed. The Emperor had run away, leaving only the two women to watch the show. Even Feng Meiying and Ma Ji felt the same way. There was a light smile on their lips. This city was too easy to come to. It was really effortless to come here. The Emperor was probably preparing to escape through the secret passage, leaving behind two women to bring up the rear. However, Mu Ran, who was behind him, did not think so. The Emperor was definitely not someone who would run away. And those subordinates of the Emperor, only two women came out. Those two women seemed to be standing at the back that day, and those people who were standing at the front didn't even appear. Mu Ran had a bad premonition. Although her teacher had hit her just now, she still couldn't help but to persuade her teacher again. Teacher, but before Mu Ran could finish, Feng Meiying said coldly, Mu Ran, don't think that you can criticize Master's words and actions just because you are the heavenly Dao now. Mu Ran didn't say anything. Meanwhile, on Feng Yun's side, he was already preparing to take action. The exclusive weapon for breaking through the city gate had already been prepared. It was a huge iron rod that was black, big, and thick. This wasn't any ordinary fine iron. It was made from meteorite iron, and such a big piece of iron was definitely worth a lot. From this, it could be seen that Feng Yongzhang was also very meticulous this time, giving all the good stuff to his son. However, Feng Yun was rather smart. He only sent 50,000 soldiers to take the lead in charge at the city gate, and the black rod that was being carried by the wheels of the carriage followed along as well. Kill! 50,000 soldiers roared out furiously, pulled out their swords, and charged towards Wushu Empire. An austere aura immediately engulfed the entire battlefield. Feng Yun closely observed the situation of the battlefield, and Ding Wenba, who was behind him, wrinkled his brows and said, General, the other party doesn't seem to be moving at all. Feng Yun naturally also discovered that there weren't any archers on top of the city wall, and all of the soldiers were standing on the ground, not having any intention to engage in battle at all. Are they planning to surrender? If that's the case, it's too easy for me, and I have completely given everything to Tianliang's sect. All of the benefits belong to them, and I don't even have the chance to get any leftovers. Damn it. However, right at this moment, the sky that was originally clear gradually darkened, and snow started falling once again. The density of the snow made everyone puzzled. I have never seen snow falling like this before. Everything in front of me is actually completely blank, just like a snowy sunset. The hands of the Blood Race sisters that were standing on top of the city wall were emitting out white light. During these few years, everyone in the team had been training hard, especially those that were lagging behind. They didn't dare to slack off at all. Strength is indeed very strong. However, from that battle with Nanwuchi, they also realized that strength isn't invincible. One still needs to know a bit of magic, and this was also the shortcoming of most people. This move of the Blood Race sisters was taught by Yuhua. Although it wasn't as powerful as Yuhua, it was still enough. This kind of snowy sunset only appeared on the battlefield, and the 50,000 soldiers seemed to have lost their target. They couldn't differentiate between north and south, and didn't know which direction they should charge towards. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun didn't know why, but he felt a bit happy. Seems like the other party still has some strength, and I thought that I would be able to deal with them with just my own people. Feng Meiying and Ma Ji's originally relaxed expression gradually became grave. This kind of snowstorm is not normal. Mu Ran looked at the spectacle in front of her, and suddenly felt that the Emperor didn't lie to her. The blood of 300,000 people splashed onto the snowy ground. This isn't impossible. The falling snow in the sky gradually turned into hail. The smallest was actually the size of a fist, and the biggest was at least the size of an adult. Falling from a height of 10,000 meters, it was extremely terrifying. Furthermore, the density of the hail made it so that there was no way for people to escape, and the 50,000 soldiers immediately let out miserable screams, and those that had shields immediately raised up. However, when those huge hailstones fell onto the shields, they were unable to withstand it, and they immediately fainted. Then, they fell onto the snowy ground and got trampled on by the people beside them, or get hit by the hailstones again. Basically, if the hailstones hit their heads, it would be game over. The miserable screams within the battlefield became softer and softer, and soon, there was nothing left. However, not even a minute passed by when the snowy sunset dispersed. Only the white snowy ground was left, and everyone was buried within the snowy ground, because there were some places that were still blood red. The remaining 250,000 people were already stupefied. This snowstorm alone buried 50,000 people. This is simply too savage. This is simply inhumane. Chapter 782. That beautiful face was filled with bloodlust, and her eyes were gradually turning red. This was not a cry, but a sign unique to the Blood Clan. Feng Yun stood outside the tent, not feeling sad for the 50,000 dead warriors, and even felt that it was quite good. Now, your Tianliang sect should send troops. You can't let me keep sending people to die. However, just as Feng Yun finished thinking, a disciple came over and asked Feng Yun to go over. Feng Yun, of course, didn't dare to disobey, and went to Wu Yang's sect's camp. Senior, junior's warriors are all ordinary people. We can't do anything about this situation. Please make a decision. Feng Yun said respectfully. Feng Meiying was silent. Ma Ji said indifferently, "Continue sending troops. I have a way this time." Hearing this, Feng Yun's face changed, but he lowered his head so no one noticed. This person is so ruthless. Let all my people die, and then they will find a way to solve this. Tianliang sect is really ruthless. Today, I learned something new. Mu Ran, who was standing behind, was also very surprised. Elder Ma actually wanted to send people to die. Is Tianliang sect so unreasonable? Mu Ran had only been in Tianliang sect for a short 3 years. In these 3 years, Tianliang sect didn't have any wars. In Mu Ran's eyes, Tianliang sect was still very good. But today, he saw clearly that Tianliang sect was also a sect that didn't care about human lives. Mu Ran's heart was filled with disappointment. Go quickly. What are you waiting for? Ma Ji shouted coldly. Feng Yun's forehead was bulging with blue veins. Should he say no? If he said yes, and Feng Yun dared to say it, he would die on the spot. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. Feng Yun, will remember this debt. Yes, Feng Yun replied respectfully, and then returned to his camp. Ding Wenbo quickly asked, "General, what's wrong?" "Damn Tianliang sect, they're too much." Feng Yun's fist slammed on the table. "General, does Tianliang sect still want us to send people? This is too hateful. Then tell me, is there any other way? If I don't obey, we will be the ones to die." Feng Yun rubbed his forehead and said coldly, "I swear, I must destroy Tianliang sect." Ding Wenbo didn't say anything, and Xiaoyu was still standing on the side. A short while later, Feng Yun waved his hand, "Go make the arrangements." Yes, Ding Wenbo accepted the order and went to make arrangements. This was completely sending others to their deaths. As expected, when Ding Wenbo announced the order, the remaining 50,000 soldiers began to discuss among themselves. Some even disobeyed. However, the general was a ruthless person, killing decisively, immediately suppressing everyone. "Soldiers, Cold Sky sect has an idea this time. It won't be like before." Ding Wenbo shouted loudly, as if he was using this method to stabilize the morale of the army. However, Ding Wenbo was a civil official after all. This kind of rhetoric had no effect at all, and it even attracted more retorts. In the end, he was suppressed. However, the soldiers had no choice. There was an order from above. Even if it was an abyss in front of them, they had to jump in. But was it really worth it? Even if he had to die in battle, at least there would be an enemy. Look at Voidless Empire. Their soldiers are all standing on top of the city walls and didn't come down at all. However, their own people have indeed died. The remaining 50,000 soldiers of the Duchy of Gouda slowly walked out. They no longer had the aura of wanting to kill. Every step they took was very careful. Snow began to fall from the dark sky once again, and the scene was exactly the same as before. This caused the 50,000 soldiers to be terrified to the extreme. In an instant, they began to run in disorder. Hailstones had already formed above the clouds, and as long as the hailstones descend, these 50,000 soldiers would fall once again. Solidified. Maji's hands could be seen immediately forming hand seals, and a yellow light could be seen appearing in the sky. A yellow duck could be seen spreading out in the shape of a fan, enveloping the entire battlefield. The heavy snow immediately stopped. The 50,000 soldiers saw that Cold Sky sect had made their move, and when the hailstones landed on the shield, they were unable to smash into the shield. Gradually, the 50,000 soldiers began to cheer, picked up their blades, and once again rushed towards the city gate. Maji sneered, "You dare to be impudent in front of me with such insignificant skills. You are truly courting death." When the hailstones landed on the shield, all of the hailstones shattered. The hailstones were unable to pierce through the shield at all, and the shield protected the 50,000 soldiers below. Just when those 50,000 soldiers were feeling happy, the hailstones in the sky gradually changed. Just like daggers, the hailstones descended from the sky with cold glints. The degree of density of the hailstones caused people to feel numb, especially for people who had trypophobia. They would feel numb. Countless ice blades forcefully stabbed into the shield, but they were unable to pierce into the shield. Maji was in the middle of releasing the ice blades, and he was continuously strengthening the shield, and cold sweat could be seen appearing on his forehead. Right at this moment, an extremely large ice blade appeared in the sky. Compared to the other small ice blades, those are all ants. This is what Big Brother is. The extremely large ice blade that brought along a cold glint pressed straight towards a shield. Even Fong Meiying was dumbfounded for a moment. What kind of spell is this? It is so powerful. The extremely large ice blade pierced through the shield without any difficulty, and Maji couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood, suffering from the backlash. The extremely large ice blade that landed on the ground was like a small mountain, and in an instant, quite a number of people were crushed to death. Without the protection of the shield, those countless small ice blades that landed on the ground were densely packed, and no one was able to escape from this kind of attack. This was the legendary knife of the underworld. In an instant, all 50,000 soldiers fell onto the ground, and warm blood sprayed onto the snowy ground, forming a magnificent picture. Just like what Yi Hua said, this snowy ground would be dyed with the blood of 300,000 soldiers. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun found it hard to believe. It's over. This is the first time I went out to battle, and my entire army was wiped out. How am I going to explain this to my father when I return? I am completely unable to explain this to my father. Furthermore, if my father emperor would know about this, he would definitely be angered to death. Because this is a battle that paved the way for me. It is all this damned Tianliang sect's fault. Why don't all of you go and die? Elder Fong, are you all right? Fong Meiying, who was at the side, asked gravely. I'm all right, I was careless. Maji said coldly. Just now, I also made a fool out of myself, and I actually vomited blood. If this were to be spread back to the sect, wouldn't I become a laughingstock? Fong Meiying said faintly. Those 100,000 soldiers did not die in vain. I have a way to deal with them. When Mu Ran heard what her master said, her heart skipped a beat. To actually say that those 100,000 soldiers died in vain, I feel that my master has become a stranger in front of me. Following Fong Meiying's command, the 100,000 soldiers of Tianliang's sect walked out. This was 100,000 doja. Their strength cannot be underestimated, and they are truly terrifying. And Fong Meiying already has a way to break the enemy's technique. The 100,000 disciples of Tianliang's sect shouted out, and all of them started their charging mode. And Fong Meiying had already started his preparations. However, this time there was no snowstorm. This made Fong Meiying very puzzled, and the 100,000 disciples that were present were all puzzled. Chapter 783. Looking at the situation, Fong Meiying gradually became serious. The other party does not intend to use the same trick again. What are they trying to do? The 100,000 people at the scene looked at the surroundings vigilantly. The snow on the ground moved faster and faster, to the point that it even swept up the corpses that were just killed. The strange scene made everyone's heart turn cold. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun's back turned cold. Just when did Wushu Empire appear? Just what is going to happen? Seeing this scene, Mu Ran became even more certain of the Emperor's words. If they don't leave, everyone will die here. Suddenly, Mu Ran thought of something. No wonder the Emperor handed me over so easily, because he has the confidence to capture me back and let me see everyone's face. What kind of person was this Emperor? Why was his mind so meticulous? Every step seemed to be within his calculations. So terrifying. Elder Fong, this Wushu Empire is a bit strange. Right now, Maji was a bit worried as well. He discovered that things aren't as simple as he thought. Fong Meiying's expression was grave as she turned her head and asked Mu Ran, "You have stayed here for a period of time. Just how strong is this Wushu Empire?" No matter what, Fong Meiying was her teacher. Mu Ran said respectfully, "Teacher, disciple does not know how strong they are. This Wushu Empire doesn't have any officials. Other than the Emperor and the two Empresses, there are still 20-plus subordinates, and the two people who are standing on the city wall are precisely one of those subordinates." Hearing Mu Ran's words, Fong Meiying and Ma Ji became even more grave. Just a moment ago, they were still laughing at the Emperor for running away and leaving behind two women. It seems like the Emperor didn't even bother to continue watching and left behind two women to clean up. Just as the two were guessing, a terrifying thing happened at the scene. The snow on the ground quickly moved and formed into 5 snowballs that were 300 meters tall. That was about the same height as the city wall. However, the 5 snowballs actually stretched out their legs, hands, and even their heads. Adding on the legs and heads, the height had already surpassed the city wall, and the 100,000 disciples on the ground were just like ants. What was terrifying was that on the bodies of the 5 snowmen, all of them were people who had just died, and they were all embedded in the bodies of the snowmen. Half of the faces were smashed off, and the snowmen even used 100 human heads as their eyes, causing people to tremble in fear. What kind of monster is this? Maji raised his head and looked at the enormous snowmen and muttered. Fong Meiying didn't know what to say. Her eyes were filled with horror. Mu Ran was also dumbfounded and in disbelief. Beside her, Song Kong Hong was very calm. If Yuhua was here, it would be even more spectacular. At that time, it would not be 5 but 50. However, now that he thought of moonlight, Song Kong Hong felt very calm. This made Song Kong Hong a little puzzled. When Feng Yun saw this scene, his intestines turned green with regret. Were they paving the way for him, or were they using him to pave the way? This kind of snowman, just one of them would be enough to destroy Gouda Principality, let alone 5 of them right now. Damn it, you immortals are fighting. Why do you have to call a mortal like me? Shameless. Shameless. The ones who were most afraid were the 100,000 disciples on the battlefield. They had all forgotten to run, and their faces were filled with despair. No one knew who gave the order to run, but everyone followed. The 5 snowmen didn't do anything else. They just lifted their feet and stomped down. 5 loud sounds rang out across the world, causing the ground to tremble. Even those in Wushu Empire could feel it. It was unknown how many people would die from the stomp of those enormous feet. All of the disciples rolled and crawled as they ran. They didn't have any desire to fight at all. Meanwhile, the 100,000 disciples who were standing and watching the battle felt their bodies go numb. With 5 stomps, at least a few thousand would die, and with a few more stomps, all of them would definitely die. Ma Ji and Fong Meiying took a look at each other, then released all of their duqi and condensed into swords in their hands. Immediately, they attacked towards the snowmen. If the two of them didn't make a move now, it would be impossible to save the situation. The 5 snowmen continued to stomp, and the disciples on the ground fled in panic. I don't want to die. Isn't Tianliang sect the strongest sect in northern Liang? Why is there an existence that is even more powerful than Tianliang's sect? Don't step on it. No matter how these disciples ran, they couldn't outrun the stomping of the snowmen. The 5 snowmen were just like stepping on ants, one stomp after another. In just a short while, almost all of the 100,000 disciples died on the spot. Sky profound sword technique. Maji shouted out furiously. His peak stage king realm strength was unleashed with all his might. His body emitted a faint radiance, and the sword in his hand released a sword light that pressed straight towards the head of the snowman. Hwah! The sword light easily penetrated the head of the snowman. But what were snowmen made of? They weren't living things, therefore, this kind of damage could be ignored. The head that was cut open actually gradually closed up, and then, as if nothing had happened, it continued to stomp. How is this possible? Maji, who was holding the sword in his hand, muttered. However, just when Maji was lost in thought, one of the snowmen actually didn't continue to step on the disciples, but instead sneak attacked Maji. Be careful, Fong Meiying shouted in a delicate voice. When Maji reacted, it was already too late. The snowman's fist fiercely hit Maji's body. Maji's body smashed into the ground like a cannonball, creating a huge pit. The disciples were all stunned. This was Elder Fong, who was at the peak of King Realm. He was actually smashed into the ground by a snowman, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. What kind of strength did these 5 snowmen have? Why were there such monsters in this world? God, please come take him in. Fong Meiying didn't hold back anymore. She instantly displayed the strength of a first-grade King Realm Do, and a terrifying Do Chi spread out. Illusion Breaker. Heaven's Sword Art. The sword in Fong Meiying's hand flew towards the sky and released a dazzling light. A huge sword image appeared in the sky, and it carried along a terrifying destructive power. I will let you all experience what is called death. Fong Meiying shouted in a delicate voice. Her finger immediately pointed towards the city gate, seemingly wanting to use the sword to cut down the city gate of Wushu Empire. The huge sword image descended with a terrifying pressure. When the 5 snowmen saw this situation, they actually chose to stand under the huge sword and raise their hands. Those who didn't know might have thought that they were going to surrender. This move was one of Fong Meiying's ultimate moves, and she wouldn't use it unless she had no other choice. After all, this was a trump card. Bang! The huge sword image landed on the hands of the 5 snowmen and released a terrifying aura. This caused the disciples present to be dumbstruck. Is this the strength of a King Realm Do? This is completely not the same level as a King Realm Do. As expected of Elder Fong, she was able to suppress these 5 monsters by herself. Feng Yin was also dumbstruck. This Cold Sky sect is indeed very powerful, and this woman is also the same. To actually be able to suppress the snowmen, she is truly very powerful. Mu Ran was also very surprised. Teacher is truly very powerful, bang. Chapter 784. The sword images disappeared as well, and Fong Meiying's breathing became a little hurried. Using this ultimate move brought me a very strong feeling of fatigue, but if I don't use it, there is no better way. Right now, the Do Chi in my body is a little chaotic. Seems like attacking Wushu Empire this time was still too rash. I should have sent a few more elders, or a peak Emperor Realm sect leader. That way, I might still have a chance of winning. But luckily, I managed to get rid of those 5 monsters. Fong Meiying turned her head and looked at Ma Ji, who was in the hole. I don't know if he is dead or alive. I didn't expect those snowmen to be so strong. A peak Emperor Realm martial artist couldn't even withstand a single punch from them. Serena, who was on the city wall, rubbed her little sister's shoulder. You are driving a car again. Big sister, sorry. I was just thinking about what to eat tonight. Serena said apologetically. So embarrassing, Serena rolled her eyes at her little sister. Do you think I don't know you? Don't you know what you want to eat? Sister, you're so annoying. Don't you like to eat it as well? Serene raised her eyebrows. She had a look that said, Aren't you the same? How dare you lecture me? Concentrate. I am doing something. Serena nodded her head seriously. The two sisters started casting again. While Fong Meiying, who was in the sky, was thinking, a terrifying do-chi fluctuation gathered below. Fong Meiying immediately retreated and looked at the pile of snow vigilantly. Everyone felt the terrifying aura that the pile of snow was emitting, and fear appeared in their eyes. Why did I have to come here? Isn't it better to stay in Tianliang's sect and train? Why do I have to fight and kill? I hate fighting and killing. If these people had already attacked Wushu Empire, they would definitely not hate fighting and killing, and might even like fighting and killing. The pile of snow that had already collapsed once again fused together. Just now, there were 5 snowmen, but this time there was only 1 snowman. The height of the snowman didn't change, but its body became more robust. All of the corpses formed every detail of its body: chest muscles, abdominal muscles, shark lines, mermaid lines. The veins on its arms were all formed by corpses. That huge head was even more terrifying. Blood was still dripping down from it. The huge snowman seemed to have a life of its own as it shook its head and swept its gaze across everyone. The snowman could be seen clenching its fists, slightly bowing its body, and letting out a terrifying roar. This roar made everyone's hair stand up, and they could even smell the blood that the snowman spat out. Fong Meiying finally revealed a look of panic. If these snow corpses were only Do Huang's. In that case, he was already a Do Huang. His strength was already on par with him, or even slightly stronger. Fong Meiying couldn't care less. She turned around and shouted, Retreat! The 10 battle arcs were ready to retreat at any time. Roar! The snow corpse roared angrily and exerted force with its legs. A powerful shock wave burst forth from the ground, and the snow corpse soared high into the air, leaping towards the battleship. The scene left everyone dumbfounded. The snow corpse was like a huge gorilla, using its terrifying jumping ability to draw a beautiful arc in the air. Boom, boom, boom. The snow corpses landed abruptly, and everyone could feel their feet trembling. The battleships were like pieces of wood, crushed by the snow corpses. The other battleships were then used by the snow corpses to play with. The huge battleship was like a child's toy to the snow corpses. Mu Ran gulped and finally admitted a cruel fact. The emperor was not bragging. What he said was the truth. Today, all 300,000 people are going to die here. Light a world lock, Fong Meiying shouted, and a rope condensed in her hand and flew towards the snow corpse. The purple rope instantly wrapped around the snow corpse and tied it tightly. It was commonly known as Asian binding. Mu Ran, bring everyone and retreat, Fong Meiying shouted. She channeled all of her do-chi into the snow corpse and firmly tied it up. The snow corpse that was tied up seemed to be very angry. Its body seemed to have become a lot bigger, and one could even see its muscles expanding. Hearing her master's words, Mu Ran immediately arranged for everyone to retreat. However, how are we going to retreat now? Turn around and run. 100,000 people turned around and ran. Feng Yin didn't have much time to think and immediately rode on his horse and ran. If I don't run now, then when will I run? It's normal for me to stay at home and develop my strength. Why do I have to come out? Isn't it better to hide in the palace and develop my strength? Wouldn't it be better to wait until all the generals are selected before coming out? I am really stupid. However, after running for a few hundred meters, everyone suddenly fell down, seemed to have bumped into something. One of the disciples who fell down touched onto the ground confusedly. Although he couldn't see anything, it was very obvious that he touched onto something. Some people began to beat onto the ground ferociously. But no matter what, it was useless. Despair, a deep despair spread out in everyone's heart. They were trying to exterminate everyone here, turning around and looking at that enormous snow corpse. Elder Fong is unable to hold on for much longer. That purple rope seems to be about to break. If we don't run out, everyone is going to die. My emperor gave you all a chance to live. It is you all who did not cherish it. Today, the blood of 300,000 people will be sprinkled onto this land. There will be no mercy." Serena's words drifted into everyone's ears. After the remaining 100,000 disciples heard what Serena said, they began to beg bitterly. "I am also obeying the emperor's orders. I don't have the intention to go against you. I beg Wushu Empire to spare my lives." Mu Ran, who was within the group, was a bit dazed. She didn't know what to do. The emperor had already said these words to me. Why didn't they listen to me and insist on letting everyone die here? Why? Fang Meiying looked towards the blood sisters on the city wall. It seems like she is planning to capture the leader first, and that snow corpse is about to break free. Roar. Before the snow corpse finished speaking, the snow corpse roared furiously, and the purple rope on its body instantly broke apart, transforming into stars and disappeared. The snow corpse glared angrily at Fang Meiying, who was in midair, and the muscles on its body squirmed. Then, the snow corpse shot out explosively. Its speed was so fast that it made one speechless. And Fang Meiying did the same as well. She slashed towards the blood sisters with her sharp sword. The blood sisters looked at Fang Meiying, who was attacking towards them. They did not take any defensive measures, seemingly intending to let Fang Meiying kill them as she pleased. Fang Meiying was overjoyed in her heart. As long as I kill these two women, this snow corpse will disappear. These two demonesses, this elder is going to dismember the two of you into pieces. Fang Meiying's speed was indeed very fast, but the snow corpse wasn't slow either. Although its body was huge, its arms were extremely long. If not, why would others feel that it looked like a gorilla? Go and die. 10,000 spirit magic sword. Fang Meiying shouted out, and the long sword in her hand emitted out a golden brilliance. The little sister Serena said with a slight smile, "Be careful of your back." Fang Meiying's gaze sank, and a huge palm could be seen stretching over, then grabbing out. A terrifying sword aura erupted from the snow corpse palm. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.